Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the oldest operating motor speedway in the world, the Milwaukee Mile. Been hosting races here since 1903, and it's still going strong today. I'm Russia, and I'm joined here with Eddie for pre-race coverage of the AWSCO Continental Snapdragon Continental Series from the Milwaukee Mile for the Johnsonville 250. Uh, Logically, that means it's 250 laps around the 1 mile track. Not much math to do there with that one, but Eddie, welcome back to the pre-race show. I think it's been a few races since you've been here with me, and hope you've been keeping up. Hope you've been keeping up on the series. But we've had quite a few exciting races in the Continental Series for a while, and hope you are going to enjoy this race with us here tonight.
I hope so too. I mean, you can't get any better than these last couple of races coming down to about a really look at the last four races, and everyone's been within about a second of each other outside of Hillside. So yeah, it's been close races for the Continental Series. So I mean, that's great for a lot of these second tier drivers. I feel like this is the point where you can see some of them coming into their own. You can see some drivers finding their racetrack, some drivers finding their cars, and some drivers finding that they could probably win this whole thing when the season ends. So yeah, it's been fun to watch. And again, with just how everything goes in this series, it certainly means we're hopefully, as long as this doesn't end up being an outlier, in for another banger tonight.
Yeah, we're back at another flat track. With only a few degrees of banking, I don't think that I think, but also it's a much bigger track. It's a longer flat track, a mile oval, of course. Both Hillside and Milwaukee being 1 mile tracks, but they're both very different in the way they run. Hillside was a lot faster, a lot more pack racing based. This one's gonna be a lot more methodical. I think they're gonna have to be. It's gonna be a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult to make moves around. That's pretty standard fare for a flat oval, I think. So I think this kind of racing. I don't know if we've really had this kind of racing since Nazareth. Really, I mean, I guess Phoenix is kind of an analog to it, but Phoenix is so many different places you can run that it kind of nullifies the idea of having little banking, I should say. But I think Nazareth is I think the closest analog we've seen in this series, at least in terms of this kind of racing we'll see here. Passing around, you'll definitely see cars moving around the different lanes, I think. But in the end, I think you're going to want to stick to the bottom lane, I think, in terms of making moves. So yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, absolutely, yeah. And in the end, you can compare it to Nazareth means this is kind of a big race for a lot of these drivers because Nazareth being the third race in the season, this is the 13th. You're 10 races more experienced now with your car. So, if you compare it to that, it means a lot of these drivers, maybe they've gained the experience. Maybe some of them have, and maybe some of them have kind of forgotten what made them so good in Nazareth and have to relearn it for this track. And I mean, looking at the results for Nazareth,
Yeah, I mean, go
I
ahead.
guess qualifying doesn't entirely line up with how people finish. So I'm going to assume that a lot of these young drivers, I think, just forgot, you know,
Hmm.
maybe what they needed to do to get at least a good qualifying lap in here. And this might mean there are a little bit of issues. Might mean there's a lot more issues with this race. But then again, these drivers they surprised us a lot this year. So anything could really happen.
Yeah, I mean, the Nazareth race was mired with a lot of mechanical problems later on in the race. So we have seen that kind of dip a little bit in the last few races. We haven't we see a few mechanical issues here and there, mostly tires and whatnot. But I think it's definitely improved a little bit. We'll see if that lasts at this kind of track. But at the same time, we saw at Nazareth was a bit of an attrition race, but also one a real strategy showcase. I think for a lot of teams that event was. So we'll see if the Milwaukee Mile holds throws up a similar kind of show in that regard. I do think tire wear is obviously going to be a big factor as it always is for a flat track. So cars are going to be looking to manage their tires over the course of the race. I think don't want to burn them up too early because that'll leave you hanging up. That'll leave you hanging late in the run, and that's that's the easiest way to lose a lot of positions. Just overwork your tires and be stuck with a set of bricks at the end, I think. Another thing that I should point out when it comes to Milwaukee Mile is the rather tight pit lane entry. You'll see it. You'll see it when we head to the broadcast. But the pit lane entry in this track is kind of odd and a little bit I guess a little bit archaic. That's the way I'd say it. There's not much room. You kind of just go. You just kind of go in. There really isn't much of a what do you call it? Like a transition into the pit lane, I would say. So that's something to look out. That's something I think we'll have to look out for, especially if you get cars spitting out of 4. You might see that happen. Just gotta look out for the pit wall there. That might be a cause for concern, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. This is gonna be a fun race, I think.
Yeah.
Looking back at stuff, I mean, yeah, you're right on all fronts. So hopefully we don't have a lot of mechanical issues, and hopefully we get to see how some of these cars run. I think at this point, every driver is just hoping their car doesn't blow up because they believe. I think all 38 drivers on this grid probably believe they can win this race. So they're going to just try to pull out strategies. Hopefully, hug that inside lane to the best of their ability, and it's gonna be a wild one from there. We'll see who can pull it out.
And finally, with that underway, we'll take a look at our starting lineup for the race. It's Robin Morales on pole. I'm not sure if we've seen that. I'm not sure if we've seen a what do you call it? Project Horizon car up on pole yet this season. That's not something that I recall seeing, but I also could be wrong. I don't remember the qualifying orders pretty well. But it's Lynn Oswell starting beside her. Then it's Davenport and Aya on the second row. Obviously, you don't want to be starting on the outside at any point in this race, but at the same time, if you're starting up front, it shouldn't be too bad. They could probably have room to slot into the inside at some point. But yeah, for the cars up here, a lot of these drivers starting up front, I think they're all kind of in that middle of the standings, that middle to the bottom of the standings. I should say around the 20s to 30s range. I'm not sure where Aya is. Aya might be the exception to that rule.
Aya is just a couple spots. I mean, 9 points back at the cut line right now.
9 points back at the cut line. So Aya's actually a little bit better off than most of these guys. But then you look behind and you see Estrada, who's I think further behind everyone in these, further behind in the 40s, I think. And then you have Vinny Schultz, who's been pretty consistent all season and has been probably one of the most consistent drivers in the series. She hasn't been as flashy as some of the other drivers, but she's been able to get finishes at a rate that's better than most, I would say, and that's definitely that definitely shows in the standings with her being in 7th and being the third car in points without a win, just behind the 64 and 95.
Hasn't finished below the top 30 except for Nashville, and has qualified for every race. So that's a really stinks. That's a really easy way to find yourself at the top. In terms of the other names that made the Fast 10 in this race, again, a lot of them. I mean, you look at names like Zoe Quinton, Jet Brackett. Jet Brackett, I guess, is the real big name out here. Already has a win, one at Texas. 5 top 10s, and I mean, from where she is in terms of where a lot of her Gulf racing teammates are, especially Leia Azelhart and Jennifer Wilson, Wilson missing this race, I feel like she's in an interesting position where being on the inside lane in this Fast 10, but she might not, I mean, need, she might not really just need the fight as much. I mean, only 34 back of Freya von Lundqvist. Lundqvist, I believe, is starting. Yeah,
you're starting at the back. You're starting
so
in the provisional places. Yeah.
It's I mean, you don't want to take it easy, but for Jet Brackett, in terms of where she is, being in that spot, and especially behind, I mean, Vinny Scholes, Anya Gray has also been an interesting driver in this series. If I could find where she is.
By the way, and
she's
also
31st. So a lot of drivers ahead of Jet Bracket are drivers needing races, and Jet could really just hold with these people, maybe be the one driver out here playing it conservative, and she could find herself either with a win or with a really good finish compared to maybe where a lot of these other drivers, um, who she's behind in the standings, they're behind her now, and they could get caught up in an early wreck. Could we have another one as we've had in a couple of these races so far this season?
Yeah. By the way, watch out for that 45. Alyssa Roberts starting not far off. I think she started. Yeah, she's on the fast 10 as well, and that's another driver that's been knocking on the door. She doesn't have any top 10s just yet, but she's been getting very close, and we'll see if she can get that first top 10 of the season here. Any final thoughts before we throw it over to the booth for the race?
I mean, I don't think so. Again, being out for a little bit, yeah, for me has been a bit interesting. I mean, I've been catching up, but this race with the tire wear could be a really fun one where we see which team, I guess, has the best strategist. A good thing to point out at this point in the season. Or we could see a race where a lot of people lose their tires and thus lose their cars, and then we end up having a wreck fest.
Yeah.
Which we hope to never have wreck fest in Continental. We really want to see how these drivers can do in long runs, but c'est la vie.
Though, to be fair, I think the Continental Series has done quite a little bit better in recent weeks in terms of avoiding wrecks and preventing cautions than the Cup
absolutely.
drivers have.
No, they've definitely
actually
done
one
better.
Final note: congratulations to Isabella Smith on qualifying. That's the first race she's made since I think Pikes Peak. It has been a long while since we saw her on the grid. So it's nice to see her back on the field, and hopefully she has a good day today. All right, and with that, we'll take you over to Echo and Madison in the booth as we'll take you in for the engine command and the start of the race.
Yeah, and welcome to the Milwaukee Mile here in West Allis, Wisconsin for the Johnsonville 250. I'm joined by Madison in the booth alongside me for this race. Hello, Madison.
Hi, it was quite a flight out to Wisconsin here, which don't typically get on planes, but it was pretty smooth, landed, and I've really been enjoying the city, seeing all kinds of stuff, and most of all the racetrack. It's just insane to think that this track has been hosting auto races for more than 120 years, and to just be here with all this history is such a privilege, and see the AWSCO Continental Series here today, all these women racing, it's just wonderful. What are you looking forward to most?
I think that I just think that this is a historic venue, great venue for all these drivers that they love racing here pretty much in every kind of series. We've seen IndyCar run here, we've seen the Truck Series run here, and a little while, not super recently, but the NASCAR Xfinity cars have run here in the past, and now we're going to send the Continental drivers up around here, around this 1 mile flat oval. What do you think the biggest key is going to be in this race?
I think just being steady, hitting your marks, and really not making mistakes, because we know that Rashia talked about the pit road entrance being, certainly by modern standards, very unconventional. There's next to no room entering the pit lane. It's so easy to potentially hit the wall or miss your marks, maybe miss pit road. You can speed on entry. It's just such a difficult pit road because it's built for really a time that's gone past. And of course the track itself quite interesting too. It's a mile oval, but you really have to hit the apexes, understand where your car needs to go, and if you deviate too far out of line, you're going to pay dearly for it. It's almost like Indy in the sense that there's a very strict line to run, but obviously much shorter, and it's concrete, obviously. But this track is just, it's so unique, and it's really just meant for a time pass, which is what makes it so special to run here.
You say it's concrete, but it is asphalt. The asphalt is just so worn out that it looks like concrete.
Quite light, yeah.
Yeah.
My mistake, sorry.
All right, let's go through your starting grid for this race here from the Milwaukee Mile. On row 1, Robin Morales, the Uruguayan driver, takes home the pole. She's done pretty solid. Morales has had some very good qualifying efforts. She's had some very good finishes on the short tracks this year. Could we see another one here today? Could we see maybe her get to the win? I don't know. She's alongside Lynn Oswell on that first row. Row 2, it's Naomi Davenport alongside Takamoto Aya, trying to make her way back up towards the playoff cut line. Row 3, Vinny Schultz is alongside Madison Estrada. Row 4, LaTanya Gray, a short track ace alongside Liz Roberts. Row 5, the 66 of Jet Brackett, winner at Texas, is alongside the 5 of Zoe Quinton. Row 6, the winner at Phoenix, the last race you were here for, Madison, Rachel Ramos, alongside the 7 of Reina Munoz. Row 7, it's the 38 Isabella Fitzmaurice, winner at Las Vegas, and alongside her is the 16 of Leah Azelhart. Row 8, the 59 Abby Buchanan, alongside the 8 of Kate Summers. Row 9, welcome back Isabella Smith. She's back in the field alongside her teammate Deborah Williams. Row 10, Lexi Rockwood and Kathy Ableton Perez. In row 11, Bristol winner Lux Akuma alongside the 24 Ashley Johnson. Row 12, our most recent winner, last week's winner at Hillside, Katrin Edelstein alongside Cara Reynolds, sitting third in the points. Row 12, three-time winner this season, Izzy Oberman alongside the 81 of Alice Hageman. Row 13, the 84 Casper von Weber alongside Irwindale winner Eliza Evergreen. Row 14, the 51 Stella Arcadia and the 44 Lulu Kani. Okay, that was row 15. So this is row 16, the 12 Jackie Kennedy and the 46 of Shizzy Min. Row 17, points leader Freya von Lundquist alongside the 64 Mayumi Moriyama. Row 18, Pikes Peak winner Hieta Yoko alongside the 40 Lara Sundale, winner at Nazareth. And row 9, the 35 Krista Andresen and the 77 of Rose Lockport. So, 250 laps here. This is a pretty long race. These drivers are going to have to work through this one. You think that there's anything that these drivers are going to keep an eye on in terms of the track? Do you think it's going to be more important to race the track through this early stint of the race, or do you think that they're gonna be all out? They're going to be very aggressive here at the start.
Well, we've seen AWSCO, whether it's the Continental Series or the Cup Series, and they do tend to be very aggressive. They're not afraid to make up positions, even if it means stupid things happen. So I don't have much faith that these drivers are going to race super smart, but you certainly will have to understand that, yes, you do need to race the track and just save your stuff and figure things out as you go. And strategy, especially today, is going to be very important with this track being as tricky and unique as it is. I certainly think that the way to go is to race the track early on and then see where you end up later.
All right, well, the pace car's off as we are about to get set here from the Milwaukee Mile. Here we go. Green flag is out. We're racing in Wisconsin. And LaTanya Gray already trying to go 3 wide back here. Oh, the 45 gets hooked by the 5. That was a bit of a long incident, but we are back under caution. Oh, right away. You called it, although I suppose that wasn't very hard to call.
Yeah, I wish I could see that, but maybe some slight technical difficulties on our end. But yeah, certainly chaotic start to this race, already under caution. All right, let's take a look at what happened here.
The 44, that's a spin under caution.
Cars around there.
That was under the caution coming back to the...
Quite interesting that we had a collision under caution there, but let's see what brought this out. So 66, I don't think has anything to do with this.
No.
She just came on the scene afterward, and we already saw 3 cars up the track there.
This is under the caution.
Maybe some confusion trying to slow it down. I don't really understand why the 51 just went up the track like that. That was some hard contact, especially for the 44.
Yeah, Lulucani, who, just made this race. She'd missed the last couple of races, and she's back. She
Like, that's
made
just
it back into the field.
unacceptable from the 51. You just can't do that.
Well, let's see what happened to bring out the yellow. Liz Roberts and Jet Brackett.
Yes, the 45 was involved in the second caution and in the first. Okay, yeah, just not much room on exit there, you see that, but everybody else did a great job to avoid that for the most part.
Yeah,
few
until
cars in the back got
6 and
piled
the
up, but that could have
46.
been a lot bigger.
That was shocking how that didn't result in anybody else being involved. We've had pit stops. I think a few cars have chosen to... I think a few cars did a little bit of strategy gambit.
We expected that for this track.
Yeah, I mean, early on, you might as well come to pit road, just with how much the tires wear out. Just give them a little
Yeah, and
check.
I'm sure there'll be more cautions, so they're thinking about that too.
Naomi Davenport won the race out of pit road. Looks like most of these cars took either right sides or nothing on their stops, so 22 is one of those cars that chose not to do anything. Looks like the 26 actually from the lead. The 26 took 4 tires. Yep, 26 for
I find that an interesting call, considering a lot of others had very short pit stops, but not necessarily saying it's wrong because I'm not a qualified crew chief, but a lot of mix-up early in this race.
Eddie, what's up on the 44?
I just got back to the garage in time to see Lulu Connie, at least get into her pit box to hear her absolutely rant on the radio. Again, missed the last 2 races, really wanted a good one out of this one, and then getting damage under caution. She is definitely not happy with Bell Arcadia in the 51 for who she believes caused that wreck by pushing her and what I believe was the 45 of Liz Roberts up into the outside wall. I would assume that Lulu's not going to have Lulu is probably going to have some words with Stell after this race.
Well,
And that's completely fair. What the 51 did there was just unacceptable. AWSCO needs to stand in and put in some discipline, but pace car lights off and we're about to get a restart.
Yeah, I would be mad too if I was the 44. That's bit uncalled for. So Davenport, Estrada, Gray, Ramos, and Fitzmaurice, your top 5. Few cars taking a few strategy gambits. As the 15 of Isabella Smith is out of line.
Some kind of problem for the 15. Slowing
Yeah.
up too.
Yeah, that...
We're still going to get this restart though.
Yeah. Green flag is out, and we are racing once more. As here comes Gray looking to the inside on Estrada. Pretty single file throughout the pack so far, and I think that's a good sign. The 15 now just exiting the pits as Gray slips out of line, and that lets Rachel Ramos take the 3rd spot away. She might go for 2nd on Estrada. Here comes the 38 of Fitzmaurice, 3 wide into turn
into the
3.
corner maybe. 38's going to back out of it. Smart move.
Good move by Fitzmaurice.
Gonna get right back in it on corner exit though. Gonna have a run down this front stretch.
I mean, you get stuck up on the outside. It's like a lot of other short tracks we go to where you just don't really have the grip up there.
Yeah, this is a single groove racetrack, really, talking about Milwaukee, and it being flat does not help that either. And here we're going to have 3 wide much, much more decisively.
And if you notice that in the corners they have the, there's a lot darker stretch of pavement. Back in the 90s when they repaved this track, when they ran an Xfinity race on it, they messed up the paving somehow, and the inside lane got messed up really badly, so they had to repave the entire inside groove. That's why that shade of pavement is much darker, because it's actually paved differently. And that actually causes a bit of an interesting thing with how they get grip on this track. They get a lot more grip down there.
Yeah, you talk about that, then notice the lighter gray. Of course, that's all the rubber they're laying down, and you notice not that much high. More of it's on maybe the 1st or 2nd groove, but certainly a bit masked by that darker pavement. But you can still see the effects, especially on the exit of the corner.
Eddie, what's up?
issues for two back markers, at least back markers in the standings. The 15 car had a tire down. Apparently, the cut on the tire was due to some debris on pit road. Does not know if it came from her stall or from just on the pit road, but 15 had to go, I think, a lap down now. And for the 84 of Casper Von Weber, reporting vibrations on that car, which definitely isn't a good sign for a driver out of 59 points under the cut line. Isabel Smith's 84 points on the cut line. We talked about how she had 5 DNQs, and at this point, she's just going to have to hope for another caution because the lucky dog is her only way back onto the lead lap at this point.
We might have a challenge for the lead. Rachel Ramos has closed in on Davenport, and these are two teammates. Those are two North Star Motorsports teammates. As the caution is back out, never mind, we won't have a challenge for the lead. And the 15
big
is
damage
involved.
on the 15. We were just talking about her. A tough day gets worse, and we see more damage on another
It's like
car.
the 35 of Andresen.
Things a bit more orderly getting in line under this caution, thank goodness. But what happened involving the 15?
Well, we're going to see for
I
pit
saw the
stops.
Dollar Tree car as well.
Well, yeah, for Evan Lundqvist, that's quite a bit of damage. All right.
Even under caution, that's a tight pit entry.
Yeah, it's a really, really messy pit entry. I've seen cars just run into the pit wall here multiple occasions. Well, the free
That one's
pass
staying out. Free pass.
is the 45 of Liz Roberts. That's the free pass car, so she's not actually staying out in terms of... She's not staying out because of...
Yeah, just not allowed to pit with the leaders, of course.
Yeah.
I'd imagine we'll come down pit road again because we've seen our pit
Whoa.
crew's very busy today.
22-2, or the 88 actually, I think, just barely beat the 2 out of pit road. The 25
It was
now up
close
here.
between... Yeah, it was close for a second. We'll see how that sorts out.
And I don't remember the other North Star car, if it even made the field. Oh, it's the 51, that's right. Well, the 51's done something. Not
Well, we see
anything
the
good.
42 with the hood ripped off. I'd like to look at that incident when we have a chance. Now, the 15 had a ton of damage, and I think the 35 came into the incident.
I believe they're behind.
As did the
They're behind the
42.
incident. They're behind. They're behind this.
Okay, the 35.
Oh, 35
Oh,
blows
an
up.
engine. That's unfortunate. Tries to
Oh,
get down the track.
just spins.
Trying to do so, and oh,
Well, that would do it.
that is obviously immediately out for the 15. Thankfully repairable for the 42. Just a tough break. Really not much room at this track when everybody's trying to go low and the pit entry is so low. Just nothing that could be done there, really.
Yeah, really unfortunate. Especially for Andresen, who'd been having some pretty good runs lately. But,
Yeah, and I'd like to note that the 88 actually did take second from Rachel Ramos on pit road. We saw the 2 go ahead and re-enter the track ahead, but did have to give that position back.
So Naomi Davenport holds the lead off pit road. Most of these cars did take 4 tires this time on the exit of pit road. I think a few cars took 2 tires. Yeah, I'm confirming. Summers, Oswell, and Munoz all took 2 tires. They just took right sides. Looks like most everybody else took 4. And yeah, Oswell has actually jumped up quite a bit in the standings. I'm not sure about Summers. She's already pretty deep in the field, so. Every car that's still
Restart
running.
again.
Every car that's still running is on the lead lap. Yeah, I mean, that was just a mech failure that... Just an engine failure that went right into the field, and a lot of cars just couldn't avoid it. All right, pace cars off. Here we go. Green flag back out in Milwaukee.
That 88's being aggressive on this restart, already on the rear bumper, the 22, who appeared to get away all right, but will have a challenger entering turn 3 potentially. Midfield squabbles.
Midfield squabbles, and we're kind of scrolling back because that's the best side-by-side battle right now. The 5 of Quinton getting around Oberman. Pole sitter Robin Morales.
Yeah, and Oberman's got the 26.
Yeah, the 26 now trying to get by the 93. Estrada's still there. Eddie.
More updates for Krista Anderson. It's a spark plug failure, according to the garage. Was punching it, going down the back straightaway, and just failure, and the whole engine blew up. And just in time to catch the 15 of Isabella Smith. Isabella getting out of the car in the garage and heading towards, I guess, really her trailer. And yeah, you can kind of see the emotion even through the helmet. She knew that this was a huge opportunity for her to finally get some points, and she's going to end up dead last in the race, according to race officials. So, heartbreak for that 15 car. Back to you guys.
Battle for the lead.
Yeah, that 88's to the inside, moved the 22 up a little bit, and on the quarter panel, on the door now, and exiting turn 2, and should get it done in 3.
Davenport almost had her clear in 1 and 2, but just couldn't keep it. Just could not get clear, and that's going to let Estrada take the lead away. We've seen our first on-track lead change of the day here in Milwaukee. Robin Morales battling with Oberman there for the 10th position, and she'll take that away. Morena Munoz.
Yeah, that battle was a few laps old, just now got by.
Yeah. And there's 3 of the 4 North Star cars running 2, 3, 4 right now. Davenport, Ramos, and Ableton Perez right there, all in order. They've clearly got something figured out right now, at least. I'm not sure if that's going to hold for the whole race, but this team
this
clearly
certainly
has
looks
something.
a bit less controversial than Daytona's dominance from that team.
Yeah. Oswell to the inside on the 38. That's going to be a battle for 5th right there between these two. Latanya Grace.
38 car
Go ahead.
was doing well to hold on the outside. Now gonna have the 65 right there. No chance to rest on that high line.
Yeah, you get pushed up to that high lane. I mean, if there's another car right behind you, you're just gone. As Latanya Gray moves to try to take the 6th position away. I mean, Latanya Gray has not had the best of seasons, but this is a great opportunity for her to try and rebound. Down to 31st in the points. She got a top 10 a couple weeks ago in South Boston. She's been running all right. Just kind of been struggling to finish races out, but this is a good chance for Latanya as the 5 really went up the track.
Yeah, I wonder what happened with that 5 car, because that was much, much slower and much, much higher than we see anybody reasonably exit the corner as Estrada pulls away.
Addison Estrada out front by 1.1 seconds as we're seeing more cars kind of drive through the field. There's Lynn Oswell making a move on Ableton Perez. Oswell, keep in mind, she's on two fresh tires. She's not on 4 tires like these other drivers are.
Yeah, we know 2 tires can really affect the balance of a car. Usually that's for the negative, but maybe made those adjustments with that in mind for this run and just conserving their stuff for later when it will be more important to have tires, saving their stuff, perhaps.
I guess, to be fair, they'd only run about 10 laps on that set of tires they started the race on, so maybe they figured it was a worthwhile risk, but clearly she's very fast.
Changing? That's very fair.
Clearly she's very fast. But I mean, if you're like 20, 30 laps into the run, I think you don't even want to mess with taking 2 tires. That's just not something you want to do.
Oh no, not that old, certainly not. But if it's early, like we saw that lap 13 pit stop, that is definitely a time when you think about whether you want 2 or 4. And in this case, 2 might work better than 4.
Ashley Johnson, all by herself. Apparently the 24 made an unscheduled pit stop, and she's now being scored 3 laps down. So we'll have to catch some word on what happened to Ashley Johnson, but she is well behind the 8 ball right now.
Yeah, tough season for the 24. You remember that violent wreck at Phoenix was certainly a low point for that team.
Yeah. She's still 20th in points, so she's not doing terribly this season. She's mostly hovered around the 20th place range, but in terms of her finishes, but she's going to need to do some work to get there in this one. Going to have to recover from being 3 laps down, and that's easier said than done. We might see a battle for the 5th position here. Gray trying to hold off Ableton Perez. Lynn Oswald has caught up to these 2 North Star cars with Ramos and Davenport, as Madison Estrada has pulled out a huge lead. She's about 2.3 seconds out ahead of these 2. These 3, really.
And there's that move we were hinting at.
Yeah, Ableton Perez now to the inside on LaTanya Gray.
Gonna get the move done at the exit of 2 by the looks of it.
Yep.
The 65 almost able to hold well on the outside, but couldn't quite get that exit.
I think what she's going to try to run that bottom lane. Try and get in line as quick as you can, just to stay in line. Because if you get shuffled up to the outside, that's going to freight train you. You're going to lose 2, 3. I mean, she could have lost even more spots. She's lucky that she only lost
you lose
the
1 spot. You can lose 10 in some cases.
She's lucky she only lost the 1 spot there.
For sure.
Starting to see the field kind of single file out now, just because, you know, the deeper into the run we go, the more the field's going to spread out.
That's not going to stop Lynn Oswald from getting ambitious. Right on the rear end of the 2.
You know, speaking of going fast, Kathy Ableton Perez, NordVPN fastest lap right now, 28.897. She's the only one who's turned a lap in the 28-second range, so.
You know who's 100th of a second off of that? Just barely behind? The car she just passed.
Yeah, LaTanya Gray. As Rachel Ramos has gone by Davenport for 2nd, so the North Star teammates working together. I don't know if they're really working together, or is more so Ramos just kind of hounded Davenport enough to get her the spot.
Yeah, we'll see if Ramos pulls away, because we've seen in other sports like Formula 1, the sort of, I'm faster than you, can you please let me through sort of thing. And maybe this is an instance of that, though much less common in stock car racing. Though this is almost Formula 1-like track in some ways, where it's like strategy is very important. It's a bit tough to overtake in that sense. It is quite tricky.
F1 Milwaukee Grand Prix win.
It's true. It'd probably be a street circuit at this rate.
Yeah. I can't exactly disagree with you there.
Because, yeah, the road course here is not really fit for F1 use.
Nah, they're going to run the oval. Trust.
Oh, surely, yeah. Add some diversity to the schedule. First time they'd run an oval since the Indy 500 back in the 50s, technically.
We got some battles back here. Zoe Quinn's really dropping back. I think she got forced up outside. She started to drop back. There's Laura Sundale, who started back in the provisionals.
Oberman making it 3 wide. Contact.
Oh, lots of contact.
Contact.
That's into the wall.
3 cars up the track. Caution will come out.
Oh, bracket.
The 66 piles in.
And Arcadia.
Further back. The 51 as well. The 42. 44 gets stopped just in time.
And the 24 doesn't.
I don't know if that's nowhere to go or just not applying the brakes enough, but caution will come out.
Well, that was, I think a lot of those cars couldn't really go anywhere. I can't really give an excuse for the 24. A lot of those cars, though, that piled in there,
I don't like what the 24 did at all. Had so much time, and if it was a spotter being unaware, just not seeing what was happening, shame on the spotter, but the driver should at least watch out too to some extent, because that was just silly. Because we saw the 44 slow down just fine, but Ashley Johnson just didn't. Everybody's coming to pit road.
and that's going to erase Estrada's 3-second lead. Imagine everyone's going to take 4 tires here.
Yeah, certainly the 96 would after taking 2 tires earlier, as we spoke about.
We'll see. Looks like 4 tires for everybody. '88's out. 88 wins the race out. And then it'll be the 2, 38 and 25.
Not a good pit
14.
stop for the 22 crew, Davenport.
22 had
Might fall
not a very
outside
good
the top
stop.
10.
Same for the 96. 96 had a pretty bad stop. The 12,
Limping back to pit road.
I'm not sure what
I'd
happened
like to look
that.
at what happened, because we kind of saw it, because they went 3 wide off the corner, but yeah, from there it was just people were piling in, and for some it was nowhere to go, for others it was poor wreck avoidance. Maybe review that a little bit.
Looked like Izzy Oberman. I thought they were actually going to be able to get through it without causing a yellow, but unfortunately,
So we saw the
Sundale-
12.
Yeah, the 12 and the 40. The 40 is kind of pinching the 12 into the wall, and
It's a 12 that is exposed. And
12 gets hit by the 66. I don't know what the 66 realistically... I mean, what? The 66 is well up the track here. And, yeah, there's nowhere that
just
they could
panicked
have
on the
gone.
brakes, had nowhere to go.
There was nowhere they could have gone, and I think that's the same for the 51 and the 42 there. They were both on the outside of a couple cars. 44 gets slowed
44
down
does
fine.
a great job slowing down and maneuvers around. Ashley Johnson,
Was on the
that's
brakes.
just ridiculous.
She was on the brakes. Just not early enough. You can see very clearly she's...
Didn't attempt to slow and turn down the truck. I don't know whether it's just a choice between hitting Gray and hitting the 42, but I don't know if it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, or if that's just not making the right effort. 'Cause
I think the
it looked
12
like
might
maybe
be
she could have
halting
turned down
damage
further.
repair due to pace car.
Yeah, certainly our chat seems to be emphasizing that fact. Looks like we'll get back to green this next lap,
Yeah.
with Estrada leading once more.
No free pass on this caution because the free pass car would have been the 24. The 24 not only wrecked but was involved in the accident, so they lose free pass eligibility.
Before we get this restart, I'd like to quickly shout out the 38, making up spots and up to 3rd at this point after some of the negativity from the 22 and 96 on pit road.
The 12 is actually coming back out on the track. I think the 12 might have had a fuel cell issue or something because that car was really slow. It looked like it was sputtering on fuel.
Well, they got it cleaned up if there's a mess, and the pace car is about to head in now.
Pace car will be in. Here we go, green flag. Estrada with a great jump on the start. Ramos with a not so much of a jump, and here comes Fitzmaurice for second.
It's dangerous to be pushed out of line at this stage because everybody's going to be all bunched up.
88 really slowed up on corner exit. That's going to let the 38 go for the race lead.
Going to easily get it done and will be clear off of
No, it
Or
won't be
not
clear.
quite. Still side by side.
Had it at the line.
Gonna be three. I almost thought it was gonna be 3 wide into 1, but the 46 wisely chose not to dive on the 14. 38 car
Shizimin.
clear for the lead.
Good move by Shizimin to not go 3 wide. Not yet, anyways. As Edelstein now trying to take second from Estrada. And that 88's clearly very fast. She's able to hold much stronger on the outside lane than I think we've really seen anybody else do. As now Min takes it 3 wide.
They got through it that time, thankfully.
Yeah, the two backed out of it. And I think
That
that's
might
what
have been
saved them.
Estrada's salvation.
And now here comes Min for the
46
second
on
position.
rails.
Here comes LaTanya Gray trying to get to third here. Clearly, Madison Estrada is very fast, and I think she has a car that can still contend. Just had a bad, she had a bad restart there, and that's let these cars all get underneath her. And when you get
I mean, so did Rachel Ramos, is in fact further down than the 88 started for sure. Still on the inside though, which is advantageous, but not great restarts out of her top 2, and that 38 capitalized on pit road and now able to do the same on the track to take the lead.
we might have a 3-way battle for the lead. Here comes Shizzy Min, the Macanese driver, looking to try to make something happen in that Panos racing car. She's got
Not afraid to make moves, as we saw, certainly being fairly wise about it, but definitely on rails in this early run.
Here comes Gray, though, for the second spot.
Not decisively diving in the inside, but able to complete it in turn 2 as far as getting that car ahead. Gonna be cleared down the backstretch.
LaTanya not making an aggressive move and being calm? Color me shocked.
Min dove in pretty far, but it might pay off here. Still just able to hold on, and there's a good gap behind, so not much danger of being overtaken by yet more cars yet, anyway. Min needs to get in line now and preserve more spots, and will do so.
And she's
Gonna
going to dive bomb the
cross over
65.
here. Not often you use the term crossover in stock car racing, but that's exactly what that was.
Yeah, she pulled off a pretty good crossover on LaTanya. See, the 65 held the spot.
Stellar racing for second. This
60...
is what the 38 wants to see. Go ahead and battle back there. Entertain the fans. Let me pull away.
65 going to get shuffled now. 46 finally going to get clear. Here comes the 2 of Ramos. Shout out Vinny Schultz, who's moved her way up to 9th. Kate Summers is up into 10th spot. Pretty good drive for all of those drivers. Naomi Davenport, quite far back.
Well off the pace.
Not
Like a tire issue. We'll have to see more information on that from Eddie when it's time, but unfortunate. Did have a slow pit stop too, so maybe something along those lines as well.
Yeah, yeah, maybe something happened there. Oh, the caution is out.
It involves the 5.
Here's Zoe Quinton has damage.
I believe there's another car slowed from the scene. A fairly minor collision as far as cars involved, thankfully, compared to previous incidents.
Yeah. This car looks pretty well damaged, though.
Yeah, that right side is caved in pretty badly. Maybe they can get that buffed out and continue, but certainly going to be spending a fair amount of time on pit road.
Well, I think we're about to see more action on pit road here.
Grass is green.
Well, unless you're in California.
Don't even.
I mean, we do go to Sonoma. That is pretty much how it looks.
Yeah, that is in the summer when things get dried out. That's the case in many Mediterranean climates, but certainly a
true.
lot of action on pit road here. We'll see if that 38 can have the same stellar stop as previously.
22, Davenport, who actually was a lap down, she actually gets the free pass, so she's back on the lead lap.
Yeah, lucky break after having that problem, and we see the 38 off of pit road now,
38 wins the race out.
and will win the race off. Minutes in
46,
second.
25, 88, 14, 65, 2, 59, 55, 77, 62.
Yeah, how about that? Stott Heroes Lockport made up several spots and is now, I believe, in the top 10. Another bad stop for the 96, though.
Yeah.
Was one of the last cars to leave pit road. It's like Jackie Kennedy is going to come in, probably continue to work on that car.
Yeah. They lost a couple laps on the track as well, so. Well, let's see what happened. That appeared to involve the 5.
Yeah, we saw the 5. No cars other than that obviously involved.
Looks like it was the 95 of
Ooh,
Cara Reynolds.
3 wide, again not working out. That's almost a mirror of the previous
Ooh,
incident,
jeez.
except only 2 cars involved. Wow, that is big contact.
It's a
Thankfully,
hard,
those were the only 2 cars involved, the 95 and Quentin there.
That's a hard hit for Zoe
Ken just
Clinton.
slid up the track. That you just can't do that.
It is a very difficult track to drive. I can't entirely fault Evergreen for that. I mean, that's a little further back in the field, so, you know, could have just got really tight, but...
Yeah, thank goodness for those safer barriers.
Absolutely.
Those engineers worked so hard to develop that 25 years ago, and it's saved countless lives and injuries since then.
They developed it for Indy, actually. And they've fitted it
Yeah,
to a track
Indianapolis
even
Motor
older.
Speedway for their corners.
We fitted it to a track even older than Indy now.
I talk about retrofitting.
So the lights are out once again. It's Fitzmaurice, Min, Ableton Perez, Estrada, and Edelstein that make up the top 5. We've seen these restarts. They've kind of struggled to make it through on these restarts.
Well, these 2 cars up front here, those are some of the best ones as far as that last restart went. So we'll see if their success repeats here, or if it's other drivers who demonstrate their abilities, like Estrada further back, who was leading beforehand.
I mean, we haven't really seen any drivers that have had the lead on the restarts end up holding on to the lead. So
True. We'll see how it goes this time as the pace cars entered pit road, and the green flag is about to fly.
here we go. 38 gets a good jump. 88 dives
Got her
down
with a
for
move.
third. I think Estrada's going to take the spot. She's going to get to third. Fitzmaurice is actually going to hold on to the lead for it's back to the line, and here comes Estrada for second.
Yeah, I was about to say, gonna make that move in 1 is flying through the field so far, even if it's just that 1 car and then this as well. Could she reclaim the lead before long?
I mean, that 88's got to be one of the best cars right now. 22 appears to
We saw the 22
received
come down pit road again.
Appears the 22 might have gotten a stop and go. Yep, stop and go on the 22. That might be because the
Yeah,
12 pitted with 1 to go and the 22 wasn't able to restart at the tail end. Which is what you're supposed to do when you have the free pass, so that car's been put back a lap down.
Yeah, I saw them go 3 wide at the back on that restart, and I'd have to imagine maybe a violation there of some kind, but certainly possible that it was that tail end thing with the free pass. 38 car certainly holding the lead here as previously.
Where the 22 cycled is right in the middle of this lead mix.
Yeah, she's driven into a hornet's nest here.
I mean, the thing with the 22 is she's not slow. Like, that car is definitely fast. I mean, she was up front at the start of the race. She held the lead for a decent bit. She's just kind of stuck right now.
Yeah, the racing gods have been throwing their plagues on that 22 car for sure. Had a tire go down, had this recent issue, just not allowed to have success, it seems.
You know who is having a lot of success right now moving up through the field is Vinnie Schultz. She is continually climbing through. She's getting around the 46 of min. I think she's about to take third away here, or fourth away, excuse me.
Yeah, in the top 5 for sure. But how about another driver restarting so well? That 59 car we saw kind of near the tail end of that top 10, now in third, battling Estrada here potentially for second before long.
Yeah, great restart that Buchanan was able to get. Schultz gets slid up the track by Williams, and now here comes Latanya. Trying to make
That's
moves.
a commentator's jinx, if anything.
Well, I mean, this track, everything moves so quickly here.
For sure. Look at Kate Summers on the bottom. Made it 3 wide, now double wide, gonna take all those spots for herself.
I mean, this is another case of where Kate is running well, and she's running well once again this week. Just the unfortunate thing with Summers has been that she just hasn't been able to finish races. She's had some kind of bad luck after the other. In Bristol, she led the most laps, looked like a favorite to win, but she got caught up in an incident. She still finished it in 12th, but could have been so much better. Last week in Hillside, she got spun and drove back to the top 10. Then she got caught out on a pit cycle and drove back into the top 10 again. Just, it seems like everybody's had it out for Kate recently, but she's being able to stay calm and collected and happy about everything, and I think that really shows.
For sure, we're a quarter of the way through, and how about the lead here? Of course, it is closing right up.
Oh yeah, it has. Estrada's reeled Fitzmaurice in.
Might see a move from Estrada into turn 1 if she can just get the run off the corner. Is back by only a short distance. Not going to make the move, though. Maybe trying to intimidate or something of that sort. Say, hey, I'm here and I can take this position, but I'm just choosing not to because I don't really feel like it. I'll get you later.
Well,
That
Tanya
gap
Gray
opening up a little bit now.
has climbed into 5th. Here comes Deborah Williams. Here comes Estrada. She's looking, but Fitzmaurice is going to close the door on her. Deborah Williams has taken 3rd from Buchanan, as Schultz and Gray continue to battle their way up through the field.
Rose Lockport got by Kate Summers further back for 7th. Schultz is making another move
Here comes
as Estrada gets overtaken herself.
Williams for 2nd. Deborah Williams. I mean, Deborah Williams has also kind of had one of those just solid seasons. She's run well. She's 9th in the points right now. She came very close to winning in California, but just didn't have enough fuel at the end, as that one turned into basically a strategy race. Everyone tried to make it to the end except for a few cars, and the cars that weren't trying to make it to the end from the get-go wound up being the ones that won that race. But
Schultz is going for 2nd.
I was going to say, I'm not sure Williams is going to hold that 2nd spot for long, because here comes the 62. Vinny is here. And she might close in on Fitzmaurice very soon. In fact, she might go for the lead right now.
Yeah, she's not taking it easy. Into turn 3, already side by side. And should be clear off of, actually off of 3 and into 4. Wow, that 62 car is on rails.
That car drove it. She drove it deep in there, and she is now driving away. Well, I don't know if she's. I don't know if I'd say she's driving away yet.
I mean, she did literally just take the lead. Let's wait a lap or 2 before we say driving away.
Hey, here's Rose Lockport up into the 3rd spot.
Yeah, we were talking about taking 7th a short time ago, and just feels like literally instantly up to 3rd now.
There's a lot of strong cars up here that are going to be fighting for it. You know, you see Lockport here. There's Fitzmaurice, LaTanya Gray's moved up here. Madison Estrada's still in this. Kate Summers has looked pretty strong. Rachel Ramos. I mean, there's a lot of cars up here that have, you know, looked very solid. As here comes the 77,
Here comes 77 for second.
Shout out, by the way, to Hieta Yoko in the 0 car. She's into the top 10 already. She blew an engine in on her qualifying run.
Yeah, maybe that new engine is certainly helping things out, but coming from the backup to this point in the field is no small feat, as we see. Schultz is starting to pull away some, at least was from the 38, and not from the 77. Lockport is closing in the 3 wide. The 55 is in the wall.
Williams and Buchanan both get in the wall.
Straight.
That was
Are they
nearly a
keeping it
wreck.
green? Sure looks like it. Wow.
They both saved it. They
That
both hung
wasn't
on to
right,
it.
just they kept it straight.
They both hung on to it. That's not going to be
No,
one they
won't.
hang on to,
Oh my
though.
gosh. Massive hit for the 7.
Oh, upside down goes Min.
And Min is upside down, barrel rolling. Caution is certainly out now. What a shame for Min, running so well in this race earlier.
Lexi
Actually,
Rockwood.
talking about Min, she was second on a restart not too long ago, and has lost pretty much everything, and thankfully rolling away after being upside down. But wow, that was frightening.
Aya took a really hard hit in the 11 straight into the outside wall. That's where I'm most worried. Leah Azelhard as well.
Was scary for sure. Thankfully, a lot of cars rolling away from this, but certainly not for long.
Well, the 22 will
And again,
get the
pit
free
road will be
pass.
busy.
The 22 of Davenport will get the free pass again. So Rockwood, Min are out. See how the pit stops go.
4 tires for most everybody on this stop.
Not terribly surprising. Looks like
Benny
the
Schultz is going to
62.
lead off pit road from Rose Lockport, so no change in the top 2, and they're way ahead of anybody else.
Looks like no change of the top 3, really.
Solid stop for Estrada, up to 4. I'd imagine all these cars are going to come to pit road as well. So, yeah, you kind of saw what happened, and let's take a closer look at it, because we caught that right as it was happening with the 7 and 11 cars taking quite hard hits, and of course, Min upside down.
Let's see if we can get an alternate viewing angle of this one. The 7's racing the
She wasn't
11
even
and
trying
78.
to go 3 wide. She just happened to fall into a 3 wide position and just closed up too much on exit.
Yeah, I think I honestly don't even know if she.
I don't
think she knew. I don't think she knew it was 3 wide.
I don't think she expected Rockwood to slow up that much, quite honestly. And let's see Min come into the picture, and that's just unfortunate.
She
got
just
sent down.
She got sent.
Got T-boned, up and over.
Just kind of. I mean, I don't even know if this is really. That's not really even that aggressive of a flip. She just kind of bounced off of her teammate's bumper and.
She just got bounced over and kept barrel rolling.
In the oddest angle. Actually
And
sat on
that's
top of the
part,
16.
is just barrel rolling at this track is just unthinkable. As a 7 parks on the scene.
The 45 and 7 are a lap down, but they're still They're still rolling. Looks like the 5 of Quinton.
Yeah, I wonder what
had an
issue's gonna hit Davenport to put her lap down this time.
Look, the 5 of Quinton had an extended stay on pit road, but... Well, we've got... Nobody's on pit road, so... I think the only thing that could send the 22 back a lap down is if she's actually... I think it would be if she actually puts it, you know, goes to the inside on the restart. Eddie, what do you got on the 45 and 46?
Onos Racing has had a day, I'll tell you what. Liz Roberts just being involved in all these accidents, and Shizzy Min there getting taken out with a flip. Getting reports that Liz Roberts has been told that Shizzy Min is out. Liz reportedly said she does not care. She's just going to try and get this car as far as possible. Knows the team needs a big race today at this point. She's going to try and get it for him.
We're back green. And Schultz is the 77's hanging with the 62, but I think the 62 is going to get a good drive off. That's what you need here, is you need good drive off. Summers looks for 4th on the 88. Here comes LaTanya Gray as well. Hey, good news. The 22 is actually not on pit road, so she'll actually keep her lap this time.
Yippee!
The Naomi Davenport fans are surely excited about this as the 38 goes for a spot on the 77, and here comes Summers to take advantage of both of them getting out of shape.
Yeah, lose 1 spot, lose 3 for Rose Lockport, but
And
that did not work
diving
out.
it in is
3 wide.
LaTanya. That is not a move that should have worked, but she made it work.
Off turn 2, that will work out. Ironically, it's going to be the 38 losing his spot to Rose Lockport again.
I was gonna say that is not a move that should have worked, but it did because, well, I don't know how, to be completely honest.
Milwaukee's just been a quirky racetrack today with these cars. I don't think I expected anything quite like this, that's for sure.
Eddie, what do you have on LaTanya?
I'm hearing that LaTanya reportedly ignored her spotter, telling her to stay behind the 8 on that turn, and just said, just went for it when asked why by the spotter, who was a bit tense that she went for a 3-wide move into turn 1. She repeated the, I guess, famous line at this point. Now, if you don't go for a gap that no longer exists, you are not a race car driver. Might not be the best of ways to let your spotter know you don't want to listen to them, but still a move that works. So, can you really blame her?
Well, that is only the 15th best quote by Ayrton Senna. You can look up Ayrton Senna 15 for more information on that one.
Yeah, maybe you can get 15% off on the F1 store with the code Senna15 as well. But certainly, as far as the 65's move goes, that was impressive and goes to show that the spotter's judgment is not perfect. If you feel like going for a move and you make it work, absolutely, go ahead. Show that spotter what he should be doing in that race car.
Summers
is chasing down the 65.
She's all over LaTanya right now. Lockport sitting in 4th. Ableton Perez is going to move up into the 5th position, battling with Isabella Fitzmaurice. Madison Estrada sits behind those two. Here's Robin Morales, pole sitter, led the first couple laps. Hasn't really made her way back up to the front until right now, and now she's in 8th. But Vinny Schultz has been pretty stable out front. Been the first car we've really seen lead stably for a good bit here.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen Schultz is doing quite well. In fact, pulling away slightly. Here comes Summer for a second. Now with a real move to the inside.
Move to the inside that was actually pre-planned and thought out instead of being a dive bomb. But hey, I mean, I guess that's how you have to pass sometimes at a short track. Tanya's trying to hold on the outside. I don't think she's going to. But she's trying to. Summers is able to take the spot away, but we'll see if Latanya fights back. Summers had a pretty solid lap there. I think she's closed just a bit. Yeah, she closed more than just a bit on Schultz.
Understatement.
It was about 3/10 gained that lap. Just a bit.
Slight.
So Summers is slowly reeling Schultz in. Pretty calm up at the front now. I mean, you have to go a little further back here to see any real battles for position. But, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of the aggression at the start wasn't really... I feel like the aggression was not as much as I expected it to be, but it also still was pretty aggressive. Fair few cars have been involved in incidents, but I feel like it's a lot less than I expected.
I think the aftermaths have been more chaotic than I expected, or in different ways perhaps than I thought it might be, but certainly overall, it's not been a start to the race where it's like, you can count more easily who does have damage than doesn't. As Summers is really closing in, may go for the lead on this lap. Not in turn 1, but maybe in 3 if she can close enough.
She's pretty close, but I don't think she's close enough to make that move yet unless the 62 has a bad exit.
We've seen only a few cars really pull away while in the lead. So
I have no idea what's going on back here.
Are we really about to get 3 wide again?
It
Let's
can't
hope
be
this
anything
ends
good.
Better. Please, guys. Or girls, careful. Wow, they made it. Good
I
for
think
them.
I think it ends better if there isn't a car that's... If the car on the inside isn't nosing ahead of both of the others, I think that's usually when it ends better. Because they're usually trying not to clear themselves. If they're
I think it's
little
usually
behind.
better to be 3 wide and 4 than 3 wide and 3, from what I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Or
was
in
a
1 and
trial by
2.
fire for Rose Lockport, and she got pretty much charcoal now, is what the 77 looks like after that.
Top 3 still Schultz, Summers, Gray. Still just kind of running this one out right now. Ableton, Perez in 4th. Edelstein. Ramos has taken 6th away from Morales. Lockport is in 8th now, battling with Fitzmaurice. And that's the battle for 10th between Buchanan and Estrada. That's the thing.
Interesting that this top 3... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Vinny, Schultz has done a pretty good job holding the lead. This has been about the best car we've seen, about the best we've seen anybody hold the lead since Estrada was able to pull away.
Yeah, I was about to say, only once has the leader truly pulled away after a restart, and that was Estrada. But I'm a little surprised that everybody, these top 3 at least, are line astern right now as they are, but I imagine that'll change sooner than later. And of course, these cars have moved to line astern at the moment after battling for everything and anything earlier. This track very dynamic as Summers is right there, has the best chance she's had in a while to make a move for the lead.
Not going to be able
Schultz
to.
is going to run a slightly high line off 4, but Summers not able to capitalize.
You run a little higher, you can get a better exit by doing that. By going a little
Sure,
high, you
momentum.
can carry a little more throttle.
Yeah, those left side tires are still in the general area of that grip, and of course, being higher, you get more momentum. Sure, you travel further physically, but your speeds are higher in terms of the speedometer, which they don't have on these cars, but we have access to that data here in the booth. But certainly, some very different ways to drive this track, whether you're on offense, you just send it down the inside, or if you're on defense, You might run higher like that, but you might also try and defend the inside into the corner. Very interesting how a track like this is run.
Well, I think the thing as well here is you need that exit speed. Corner exit is a lot more important than I would say the middle of the corner is, because the middle of the corner everyone's slow. Everyone's really slow. It's kind of, you can't really dive bomb it in the middle of the corner. Corner exit and where you get that momentum to go into the next corner is where it's key. And if you can,
yeah, the only way you can really start and overtake in the middle of the corner is if two cars are already double wide, and then you're the third that makes it in there later after they wash up the track.
Yeah.
But certainly if you're already side by side into the corner, certainly by the middle and exit, you probably have it done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way you really make up ground mid-corner is by, well, the car in front of you washes up. We haven't
Pretty
really
much. You
seen
usually
a lot
have
of
to already be there in the entry of the corner for that to happen, but more battles back here. You see the 38 being pushed up out of line as Estrada's going to try and get deeper into the top 10.
Shout out Casper von Weber. She was dealing with a vibration earlier, and she's actually driven up into, well, she's right behind the top 10. She's not in the top 10, but she's pretty close to it. Yeah, the 25 and 14 have now kind of closed up on this top three. So it is really becoming a battle now. Truly more of a battle than it was before, where it was just those three cars. Now there's quite a few.
Bit of a bump from Ableton Perez onto Latanya Gray there. Not making the move yet, but letting Gray know, yeah, I'm here and I'm willing to make this move. I'll figure out when.
Well, Latanya doesn't like that, but I suppose there's not much that the 65 can do about that right now, other than try and defend.
Yeah, so do you defend from the 25, or do you, I guess, go down the inside of the 8? And for the moment, it really seems like defense is the main focus, as these top four just not able to overtake each other, and they're still line astern right now. We were talking about that with 3, and now it's 4 cars in that scenario. Got to move for 5th, though, I do believe.
I think we
Almost
had a,
anyway.
I think we had a
It's
look.
in the making.
We had a look, because Ramos was there on Edelstein, just wasn't able to do it. Gray is there on
Summer's not
Summers.
particularly good through the corner. This might be a move for 2nd.
The 60, I think as the run has gone on, because this is I think this is the longest green run we've really had. We've gone about 35-ish laps. More than that, actually. We've gone about almost 40 laps since we last had a yellow flag and since we had a pit stop, so.
Move for 3rd finally happening.
As the run changes, as the run moves on, we're gonna see I think we're gonna see different cars, come into play.
Yeah, we're gonna learn a lot because we don't know how far these tires can go yet. Because whether it's 10 laps or it's 20, we see cars go in and take 4 like it's free money, really. So I think this run is going to be very valuable for the teams to realize this is where we're lacking. We had no idea to find this out earlier, but now we know this, and now at this point in the race, we can make adjustments and find our strengths.
Ableton Perez makes the move to get up to 3rd. These two cars still the 2 cars that have clocked the fastest lap times of the race. Obviously, that being worth a bonus point, the NordVPN fastest lap is. So I think that's going to be pretty key for those drivers. But Vinny Schultz still out front here in Milwaukee. Kate Summers, Kathy Ableton Perez, Latanya Gray, and Katrin Edelstein in the top 5. As we are 101 laps down here from the famous Milwaukee Mile. Been a lot of action in this one. Been some great racing in this race. Pretty much all throughout. And I'm pretty excited to see where else this takes us, because this has been a very fun race to watch so far.
Yeah, I think the start would have been a bit more to my liking if it were slightly cleaner, but I think overall I don't have many complaints about this race. It's certainly been interesting from a strategical standpoint and from an on-track standpoint as well, despite being mostly a single groove track. Of course, sometimes a single groove track works pretty well, and this is one of those cases for sure. So you see Gray right on the rear end of Ableton Perez, maybe thinking about taking that spot back, but not able to wrap the corner well enough to do it.
I believe the fuel window here is about 80 laps. I don't know if they'll go that long on tires. They might, but the fuel window is about 80 laps. So, if they go that long, this would still be a two-stopper.
Yeah, I'd like to see just how much in terms of lap time these cars are losing compared to earlier, because that'll really be telling. Because they're visibly slower. Yeah, they are losing
They're about a second off right now.
Yeah, half to a full second at this stage in the race. So I'd have to imagine maybe it'll be somewhat close to that fuel window, but tires not wearing quite as much as perhaps it would have appeared, considering they're pitting so often earlier in the race.
There's the 22 of Naomi Davenport. Again, we talked about her having, having struggles, getting back on the lead lap. She got back on the lead lap. I think she'd started out 24th. She's actually moved her way up to 19th, so she's gained a bit of ground. Not a ton, but gained enough ground to be noticeable, I would say. So Schultz, Summers, Ableton, Perez, Gray, and Edelstein has actually kind of reeled in the 65 now. So these top five look pretty calm right now. They look like they're just gonna try and click off a few laps here. Don't try and go too far.
Yeah, they're mostly equidistant and pretty much just running together right now. Of course, that could change at any point in this run, but as far as the running order for the top five goes, you're really not missing much in terms of side-by-side passing and on-track battles and such, but it looks like there's some good racing outside the top five and in the top 10.
Yeah, this is for 7th right here. Morales alongside Isabella Fitzmaurice. And Morales gets kind of shuffled to the high lane, and she's going to lose a bit of ground. They're going to catch the lap
Probably
car.
2 spots, if not more.
We're catching lap traffic now. The 5 of Zoe Quinton off the pace. Schultz is going to go to the inside and put her a second lap down.
Quinton able to get a great corner X. Well, it was a great middle of the corner. Exit not so much. Gonna politely concede that position.
She's just trying to run, if you're Quinton, you're just trying to run your race. She's clearly damaged. She's off the pace. Don't overdo it.
Yeah, at this rate, just log laps and just do your thing.
Ableton Perez tried to go around the outside of Summers. That's not going to stick, though.
Maybe trying to gather momentum for a crossover, but around a lap car is not the time for that.
Yeah.
Surely don't send it 3 wide. Thankfully, no.
Summers, Ableton Perez fighting for second spot there. And I think this is going to be the best opportunity we're going to see for any of these cars that are trying to make, moves. Lap car's going to stack some of these cars up. Stacking Latanya up, that's for sure. Latanya's very...
Yeah, Latanya Gray caught at the worst spot, corner exit.
I think she caught the 5 on corner entry and just couldn't get to the inside. At least Summers did gain a little bit of time. Okay, I did it again, where I said a little bit of time and she gained 3/10. So, she gained a bit of time. See, Morales still
maybe
stuck
you
on the
should just
outside.
saying minuscule amounts of time in his whole seconds. How about that?
For which driver?
Any of them, whenever they start pulling away by long distance. It's not quite as dramatic of a pullout for Schultz right now ahead of Summers, but still gaining.
Schultz did gain a fair bit. About a tenth and a half.
A little less than a 10.
Actually, yeah, less than a tenth. You're right. I thought it was 0.60, it was 0.68 before. But I think Summers is going to gain some here. You know,
Yeah,
if you
about a
like,
tenth and a half, so the gap's really varying here.
if you like racing action in Wisconsin, that was a horrific voice crack. If you like racing action, oh my god, I did it again. If you like racing action in Wisconsin, we're gonna be at Road America tomorrow for the Windows Cup, for the AWSCO Windows Cup Series. That's gonna be a fun race at Road America. The AWSCO Cup cars with their high drag package, they make road courses really fun to watch. I'm sure that for anybody who's interested there, that one is going to be really fun.
For sure, we saw IndyCar put a great show on today. It might have still been AWSCO in victory lane yet again, but as far as the race went, it was fun. Could have been Scott Dixon's to win, could have been quite a few different drivers that were contending throughout, but IndyCar put on a good show, and I have no doubt that the Cup Series will also put on a good show, talking about AWSCO.
Here's a fight for 8th. Abby Buchanan alongside Madison Estrada. Estrada's going to try to take that spot away. Not going to be able to do it. Buchanan, great drive on the outside into the corner. We got a battle for the 4th spot. Here comes Edelstein on Gray.
Gray ran very high in the corner, outside of where that even slightly dark gray is into the light gray, and that is generally not considered a good thing at Milwaukee, and you are seeing that on the straightaway and will lose the position by the middle of the corner.
More lap traffic. They've caught up to the 45 and the 7 in that.
That seems to have impeded Ableton Perez a little bit, unless she was just trying to get a brief draft off the lap car, the 7 there.
It impeded both the 8 and the 25 there a fair bit. But it also kind of broke up the 8 and the 25's battle, because they were pretty close to each other, but it impeded them enough to where it's kind of broke them apart.
Yeah, and certainly helped Schultz pull away as well, to some degree or another.
Here we go. 4th is back on, as Latanya now looks underneath Edelstein.
Yeah, she's going to strike back and going to have a wonderful drive through the middle of the corner. And on the exit, still side by side between the two, but she's going to use the lap car as a pick and complete the move.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Edelstein liked that, but
Like it or not, that's crafty racecraft right there. That is how you race a place like Milwaukee with lap traffic. And the lead is closing in.
yeah, Summers is here. She's gotten it. She's closed back up on Schultz.
We saw this earlier without a pass. Will we get an overtake this time for the top spot?
Gonna catch the 95. The 95 is actually on the lead lap now. So if they catch the 95, that's actually gonna be probably a little bit more heated, I would say.
Yeah, we saw the 5 earlier when a lap down. Those two cars were in the collision together, as you may remember earlier in the race. But the 95 definitely not the worst off of the two, as we see Gray is starting to try and pull away from the Edelstein there.
Getting through those
Having
lap
mixed
cars.
results doing so.
Lap cars are just kind of bunching everybody. They're either bunching everybody or breaking everybody up. It's not really consistent. Here comes the 14.
Yeah, we saw Ramos really got unlucky with the 7 there. And the move for 4th strikes back.
Edelstein takes it. For how long is she going to take it, though?
Tell you what, that gap for the lead is really fluctuating if you look at our timing screen in the top right. Because we saw Summers right on the rear bumper, and then she was over half a second behind, now 3/10 behind. Just very unique watching this. And now the top 3 are, again, equidistant from one another. As we continue to watch this battle for 4th, Edelstein's still ahead. And Gray is trying to find a way by on that rear bumper.
I wonder if... You know, I had a thought, and I don't even remember it now. This is.
I'll tell you what, that was not a great time to catch that lap car for Vinny Schultz out front.
No.
But it's still going to get by without losing an atrocious amount of time.
Just gonna hope that maybe the 95 is gonna hold up the 8 here as well.
And Kate Summers is going to...
The answer is no. But Kate
yeah,
Summers
she's gonna
was not
thank
able
Lucky
to.
Stars that she caught the 95 where she did. Still has a 25 behind to deal with.
The 8 actually wasn't able to take advantage on that lap though.
Certainly not much advantage, a little bit, but not a decisive closing of that gap.
Here's a battle
As we
back
see
here.
Estrada trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
I think she's gonna do it. Gonna get by Fitzmaurice and Buchanan. And they came very close to making contact.
That's the obliteration of 2 birds with 1 stone, really, as you see that move for Estrada. Very impressive. I think Rose Lockport was making move for 11th, that was.
I think she got by
no,
a
around
lap
a lap car, actually.
But she's
think
gonna
that
go
was
for
move
10th now.
Though. Is on the inside, is going to dive in. Make up that time in the middle, wash up the track, but thankfully it's only 2 wide, so she can afford to do that.
And
we're halfway through the race now.
Yeah, we've crossed halfway in this one, the Johnsonville 250. And Vinny Schultz out front still. She's led since that restart. I would say that the 62 has definitely led the most laps, but I'm not sure how long she's gonna hold that because the 8 is there. And Summers is all over Vinny right now. And Ableton Perez is just kind of sitting back. Just kind of hanging on there. Well, because we're halfway, in a moment we're gonna take you to the studio, but for now we're gonna stay at the track. Schultz, Summers, Ableton Perez, Edelstein, Gray, Ramos, Fitzmaurice, Buchanan, Estrada, and Lockport remains to be the top 10 at the moment. Talk about Laura Sundale up in the 12th position. I believe she's up in 12th position right now, or 13th. I'm not sure. I think it's 13th. It's 14th. Okay. So Summers trying to chase down Schultz, but just hasn't been able to make that move to get by. You're receiving the signal, so we're going to send you down to the FanDuel Fan Studio for our mid-race report. Rasha, Eddie, what do you two got?
Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to the studio for the FanDuel mid-race report. It's looking like an LSCI race out here with Schultz and Summers fighting for the lead. As we see, I think the pit cycle is starting, or maybe it isn't. We'll see. Is this scheduled? I don't know. I don't see anybody else thinking about pit stop. So, well, we'll just have to double check that. But the 25 is coming in right now for something. But yeah, it's the 62 and 8. Schultz and Summers out in the lead, and it's the 14 of Katrin Edelstein up in third. Our most recent winner. But yeah, so far. It's been a bit. It was a bit of a stop and start show at the beginning of the race. A lot of incidents here and there, and just the one slightly larger one, I think, but a bunch of smaller incidents. Kind of dotted the beginning of the race. But right now we're in the middle of a pretty decently sized green flag run. We might even see green flag stops at some point. Eddie, what do you think of this race so far? Is it meeting up? Is it matching up to your expectations?
I mean, I'm having fun. I think Echo has been right in that there's been some really good racing, but there's also been a lot of wrecks that have made people make changes, and you kind of want that in this type of race. You want to see what teams and what drivers can adapt. And I think, I mean, you look at Scholes or Summers or Edelstein or anyone really in the top 5, and they really have adapted because you could have done what you could have. Oh boys, there's a lot of sounds around us right now.
Mm-hmm.
You could have really said for any of those drivers, like, they could have just followed the strategy and they would have been closer, and they probably would have been around the mid-race position, but no, they figured things out, they've made the necessary adjustments, and now they're up to the top 5, and possibly, I mean, you look at the 84 of, I believe that's Casper Von Weber, and you just check.
Yeah,
I always
that
get
would
the
be
two
good. That will be Von
cars
Weber.
remember, but like Casper Von Weber was someone who, I mean, barely qualified in, kind of just in a spot, and is now up to the top, not up to the top 10, is now going to have to fight for 9th with 55. So I'd say it's been a pretty good race. It's going to be a fun one to see if any more wrecks end up changing strategy or cause some problems with the leaders and make this race a little bit more interesting, but we will have to see. There is a lot of damaged cars on the racetrack, a lot of lapsed cars, so realistically anything could happen. We're just gonna have to wait. Patience is the virtue.
Yeah, 25 is back out. She's a lap down. Kind of on the tail end of one lap down, but she is back out here, which is quick to see. That must have been some sort of problem because I don't see anybody else coming in. That doesn't appear to be a scheduled stop, I would say. But yeah, I think so as well. But we've got a few good runs coming out already, I think. But I mean, in terms of what drivers have looked the best so far, I think it's easily been the 62 of Schultz, who's kind of come in from the midfield, I think, to kind of come in from the oh no, she was in the top 10. She did start in 6th, but she's been pretty quick. I think she's been pretty quick, got up there fairly recently, but it's kind of just been up front ever since. Nobody's really been able to get close to her. We saw the 8 get pretty close in a couple of for a couple of laps, but she kind of fell off a little bit, and she's kind of just hanging out about a second behind her. Maybe she's just managing her equipment a little bit, just to make sure not to overwork the tires. That's one thing we were talking about before, and well, we'll check the lap time fall off, and yeah, we've fallen off more than a second already. These cars are running about a second and a tenth, 1.1, 1.2 seconds off their fastest times. So tire wear is definitely starting to play a role, I think, and that's going to dictate the way these cars are going to race for the next little stretch of the race. And these guys we haven't seen a long green flag run yet, so I think this is going to be a real test for them. Since this is, we're halfway down the race, and this is only the first time that we've seen these cars on older tires, trying to hang out in there. Just make sure you don't burn up your equipment, burn them up too much, and end up having more problems. And that's maybe what we're seeing with the 8 car here. She's not really making much ground, and just kind of hanging out still about a second behind the 62, and that's probably the case for these cars as well. Kind of hard to make moves on older tires.
Well, absolutely, and I mean, at this point, I mean, you want to talk about tire wear. I mean, I think we talked about at the start of the show how Hillside was a bit of a tire wear race, and that benefits the drivers who made use of that tire wear, like Catherine Edelstein, although now 4.5 seconds back of Vinny Scholes. So I think, I mean, again, having a tire wear back-to-back means maybe some of the drivers who just had trouble with it last week can really do better at it. Maybe this is them showing some improvement, and some drivers who haven't, maybe they haven't, maybe they've improved too. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it will play out, but the problem is, as much as my interest is vested in whether that 14 car does what she did last week and just sort of tire whispers their way into a back-to-back wins like we saw in a cup recently with whoever it was who did that. I forgot.
Back-to-back wins? Oh, you mean in cup or?
Yes,
yeah, it was Raristoun in cup that did that. Yeah,
it was Raristoun. Yeah.
Yeah, and those were at 2 short tracks as well. And this would be on 2 mile ovals, different mile ovals, but ovals of approximately the same length. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. She is running really well. So, and Heath Clarkson have been a solid organization all season. So that's a team that'll be look out for. Is now encountering some lap traffic. It's the 12 of Jackie Kennedy. See how the 62 deals with this. Well, as we I think it's a good time to start looking at our FanDuel fan picks for this race. There's quite a few cars on the lead lap, and they're starting to spread out a little bit. So, Eddie, who do you think? Who are you keeping your eyes on for the rest of this race?
I said Edelstein, but at this point, with the way Vinny Schulz is running, I mean, you might as well just say that he deserves to win. So I'll throw my name in. Throw my name in for her. I assume at this point that, as is normal with a lot of the Pacific Northwest drivers in this series, that something awful will happen soon that will cost them the race. But it hasn't happened yet. It has not happened yet, and it could not happen. And if it doesn't, I think Vinny is in the best spot to win it.
Well, I mean, you mentioned about calamity occurring to PNW drivers, but at the same time, Schultz has been probably the most consistent and best at finishing out of all the drivers out of drivers from that region. I mean, she is up there in the points for a reason. She doesn't always have the best luck, but she's able to make the most of everything, it seems. I'm going to take a look at that car running in second. Kate Summers in the 8s. She has it's been a up and down. It's been a roller coaster of a season for the 8 of Summers. I think she's had all sorts of things happen to her, from big wrecks to mechanical failures to just downright bad luck in the last couple of races, bad timings on cautions, and just getting up in all sorts of incidents. But through it all, she's fought her way through and been getting the best results, the best finishes that she can, and I think you can really see this in the last couple of weeks that she's been racing. I mean, a 12th and an 8th, despite all of that turbulent events of the season so far, and even in those races, she was caught up in a bunch of different things. So this is a driver that is used to making the most out of things, I think, and assuming that the luck goes her way in this race, I think she's going to be the one to really look out for come the end of the race. All right, and with that, this will be the end of our mid-race report. We'll take you back to the booth with Echo and Madison for coverage of the rest of the race.
Yeah, Madison, what do you have for your FanDuel fan pick?
Tell you what, I think Madison Estrada back there, let's get the camera on her for a moment as we see Edelstein go down the inside of the 38, has been really strong throughout the race, has had consistently one of the best cars. Granted, not in the finest of positions at the moment, but was able to pull out in the lead on a restart by at least a couple seconds, which we've really not seen any other car be able to do a whole lot. Granted, Schultz is pulling away right now, but it's over a much longer run, so I think give Estrada the right pit crew, which she's been able to have good pit stops out today. Maybe that can happen a little bit more often. And maybe it's a little pinch of luck. I think we can have a good win from Madison Estrada. What do you think?
Well, I think I'm going to go with the driver who's arguably the most aggressive, who's been the most aggressive today. I'm going to take LaTanya Gray. She's a short track ace. She's won. Oh, we got a crash!
Cars in the wall. Massive hit for Edelstein.
Well, that interrupted me.
But that was scary.
Well, I was going to say, I think LaTanya Gray, one of the most aggressive drivers. She's been very strong in this one. She's run quite well, and I think LaTanya's going to have a great look at it, especially now she's going to get a restart here, so.
Yeah, and about Estrada, a good pit crew has been able to execute on stops on pit road under caution, but man, that was sudden and frightening. Thankfully, the 38 able to roll back to pit road, but the 14 had a monstrous impact.
Yeah, rough hit. Edelstein is certainly going to be done for the day. And the free pass car is going to be the 95 of Reynolds, so Ableton Perez, who had that sudden stop.
Yeah, tough break for Ableton Perez not getting that lap back. And this kind of ruins the question of how long can these tires go and how is strategy going to work. They're probably going to pit soon anyway, but we didn't really get to find out exactly how long these tires can go. Unless we have it go green to the end, which, given how today has been, I'm not sure that'll be the case.
We'll see. I believe both Fitzmaurice and Edelstein, who are the two cars that were involved in that, both are going to be. They are both going to retire from the race. So we're going to have 100 laps to the end. If we go green to the end, is the 8 is coming back down the pit road.
Loose wheels, something like that. This is bizarre from second as well. No apparent problem reported yet, but this is clearly something wrong with that team, that car. Something did not go right on that pit stop, and they're paying for it. Probably just had to tighten that wheel there or something.
Something happened to Summers, and she had to come back down pit road, and that is really unfortunate because she was in second.
The driver now in second, Madison Estrada, made up one spot on pit road, and through good fortune makes up another.
Well, there's where Summers will slot out. I believe she'll slot out in, I don't know what position that is. I think that's 9th.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse for the 8, but what a shame. So you see a car is blown up.
25 is smoking.
Ableton Perez.
Well, it just went from bad to worse for that car.
Yeah, I think the engine was really upset about not getting that lap back, one might say, but that might be terminal.
Well, we'll see. We're gonna take a look at the incident there real quick between Edelstein and Fitzmaurice. They were battling with Latani
That was
Gray,
a
with
ferocious
Hattie
hit.
Buchanan.
What happened here? Because we
38 gives the
started to
14
see
a
that,
little
and
bump.
The 15, oh.
14 got up on its side there. Reminiscent of Kevin Harvick at Talladega in that one year. Hit the wall so
A
hard.
little bit.
Racked
not
her up on
quite
the
a
side.
flush 90-degree angle to the wall, but that was still a massive impact. Looked like 38 tried to come down in the corner to arc better. 14 was coming up a little bit, and that's just a racing incident, I think. And we're going to get a restart this time.
Yeah, here we go. Restart. Green flag is out.
The 59 immediately taking the initiative against Estrada here. Gonna back out of that.
No, she's
Rather
not.
perplexingly. Was backing out of it.
They're going to go
Estrada's
3
gonna
wide
try
for
and
the
go
lead.
they're going to be 3 wide for the lead in turn 3.
59
And the
backs
59 does
off.
back out of it now. Taking the cautious approach here, as Estrada's lucky to be able to get side by side with Schultz and take the top spot. Will be clear in turn 1.
Eddie, what do you got?
First, confirming that Catherine Edelstein is okay. Not a long stay in the infield care center. You'll be all right, but definitely disappointed and just back to back. The real story I have is for Kathy Appleton Perez in that 25. Apparently, some adjustments were made to the engine in that little pit stop. They made just a couple little adjustments, but apparently those adjustments backfired in a massive way because that car's engine went kaput. And that's going to end her race. So, not a great strategy out of the 25 team. They're certainly going to be trying to figure out really what went wrong there, which kind of sucks for a driver not doing too well in points, if I do say so myself. Back to y'all.
Well, Vinny Schultz.
Tell you what, we've got a great battle for the lead. That 62 car was able to get down there. It is not clear yet, thanks to Estrada's car being that good on the outside, but
Wow, look at that.
a great battle up front here.
Look at what the gap was when they crossed the start-finish line. It was 1/1000th of a second. Schultz
Yeah, and it's
will...
going to be more now that Estrada washes up the track and Schultz takes the lead for good.
Schultz has it now. And the 62 back out front. And I mean, I think that the 62 is easily going to get credit, at least for the most laps led in this one. She's led for quite a while, and she's gotten back to the front. But I would not say that the 62 has this race won. In fact, here comes the 88 battling back.
Yeah, the 55 was looking to make a move on Estrada, but then Estrada came down and filled that gap, and I think she'll be clear in one.
She will. Here comes Deborah Williams to try to take second. And there's 3 Dark Horse racing cars up here. There's LaTanya Gray in the 65, and Lynn Oswald's up here. And Deborah Williams gonna take the lead. Here comes the 65 as well.
90 laps to go, and we have stellar racing at Milwaukee. Do
And
not
here
turn off
comes
your television. Do not stop watching.
Here comes LaTanya 3 wide bottom again. This time
Please
for
tell
the
me they're
top
gonna
spot.
keep it clean. Yes, they will. Thank goodness.
And look at Kate Summers. She's here.
And guess who's back? Vinny Schultz was thinking about making moves. Didn't quite have the momentum down the backstretch, but is in
Whoa.
line, and Estrada goes way up the track.
88.
You don't want to run that high.
No, not even close. We'll put the 65 of LaTanya Gray out front now.
What did we just watch? That was amazing. I have no words. And we're back to Linus third action for now among the top 5.
Well, here comes the 6.
4.
Look at Akuma. She's been nowhere all race. I haven't seen the 6 car at all. And now all of a sudden she's in 5th, taking that spot from Vinny Schultz. As far as the fuel window goes, I think that the fuel window is a little bit longer than I expected, so if they go green, this could come down to fuel mileage. It's very possible. I'm not
Yeah, we'll
sure
see
if
if
will.
it does come down to that, or if it even stays green. Yeah, either one I was about to say. I'm not sure about that, given some of the moments that we've seen today. Certainly this phase of the race calmer than earlier, but not without its incidents, as we saw with Edelstein's massive impact.
Williams trying to run a little bit different line. Caution is out.
Caution is out.
Well, we brought it into existence.
Yeah, what was I saying about them staying green probably not happening? I don't see any cars with obvious damage. At least from this incident. I don't know if the 95 was involved or if it was a car that stopped on track. I think it was Rachel Ramos who was involved. So you saw she
I
was
think it
running
is.
much better than this, and
Yeah. I believe
now
it-
at the back.
I believe it was the 2.
Because she was in the general vicinity of the top 10, and obviously not now.
Okay, well this will make things really close if we go green all the way to the end. This is
Yeah,
about
but wasn't going to be
85
fuel
laps.
mileage before, it may be now.
I think they might be okay. Free pass car will be the 95 again, who got lapped last time. I guess she had a penalty. Looks like 4 tires and fuel for everybody.
I was going to make the grass is green analogy again, but I know you were going to bring up how dry my home state is, so I'll pass.
55 wins the race
Yeah,
out.
Williams took the lead and Estrada's up to second.
The 44. Lulu Kane trying something a little different. I think she went with 2 tires there, trying to get some track position. Yep, 44 took 2 tires on that stop. I'm not sure
That's pretty bold.
I'm not sure the thinking behind that, but
Wonder what happens to Rachel Ramos, if we can perhaps have a look at that momentarily.
Yes, I'm going to look at that. I just need to remember to do that. Oh, she spun down the front stretch.
Ah, spun on the front stretch. Thankfully, not much damage, though there is some indentation there. And just off the bumper.
Yeah, looks like
Luckily, no other cars involved.
Looks like Lewis Oswald that got into her.
Racing line.
Whoa, the 6 of Akuma.
We were singing our praises earlier, and now she is certainly going to be heading for the garage now. Looks like a critical engine failure.
Tough for Akuma. She was having a good run. And it's going to go to waste.
That is so disappointing. Nothing to show for what was looking to be quite a strong day out of nowhere for the 6, and the racing gods just decided, you know what, no fun for you. Your engine is going to blow up now and you're done for the day.
Her hood looks very buckled in. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
I think she had earlier damage, because we saw the, at least the team certainly seemed to report that it was something that was a bit sudden, but not sure. Well, we definitely had a shakeup on pit road among the cars that came out near the front. How about the 0 up to 4th?
Yeah, he had a Yoko looking pretty good right now. I think some cars took 2 tires. I don't know which ones did. I think it was just the 44, actually. Lulu Connie's a bit slow and damaged, so I'm not sure how this restart is going to go for her. Go ahead. Okay, don't go ahead, I guess.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh.
Tell you what, we're gonna get a restart now, though. So the green flag will come out.
There we go. And the 0 already going for that spot. Yep, as I expected, the 44 was just slow on that restart. Another poor pit stop for Kate Summers. She's actually further back in the field now. She's in 14th, but she was able to come back last time.
0 car making moves.
Yeah, Yoko gonna get 2nd. LaTanya Gray's up to 3rd. Here comes Robin Morales, who was on the pole for this race. They're gonna be 3 wide. The 77 sticks it up the middle. They're gonna survive. I'm not sure how, but they are gonna survive. Here comes a Morales for
I think that's a
3rd.
phrase you've said a few times today.
Yeah. How about Naomi Davenport up into 12th?
Yeah, I had a menagerie of problems earlier, and now showing why you don't give up on this race, and diving to the inside of the 44, trying to hold off Kate Summers, and might go after Vinnie Schultz before long.
Here comes Morales for the 2nd spot on Yoko. Look at Lara Sundale in the 40. She's kind of pushing her way through. Morales still trying to fight for 2nd, but Yoko's going to hold the spot. Ray slides up in the corner, and that lets Sundale go for 4th here. Tanya Gray sitting 5th, just kind of sticking with. She's had a pretty good race so far, but we need to keep the work going here. There's the 10 of Eliza Evergreen. Sounds like the 5 has had some kind of problem. Zoe Quinton has retired from the race. And she'd already been damaged before, so things go from bad to worse there. Deborah Williams leading the way. Yoko. Morales. Here comes Yoko for the race lead. The Zero. Winner in Pikes Peak. Looking for her second win of the season.
Tell you what that 0 stands for. It is 0 questions asked. She is going to make her way to the front no matter what.
And here comes Naomi Davenport. Gonna get 6th here from Gray.
Kate Summers falling right behind.
And Yoko's just kind of come out of nowhere. She's kind of very slowly, methodically worked her way up through, but she's up here now. Remember, she had to start in the back because she blew an engine on her qualifying run. I mentioned that earlier, but that car blew up in its quali run. She had to take a provisional to just get in the race. And now she's up here at the front of the field leading the way.
And somehow through all this, Vinny Schultz gained all these positions.
Yeah.
Fights are everywhere on the track at this stage, and now Summers is going to fight back with help from LaTanya Gray.
Naomi Davenport's still up here in the top 10. There's Abby Buchanan. There's LaTanya trying to get around Schultz. Look at the 26. Robin Morales has caught up to this front too. It's a whole new shape of
Yeah,
cars
and is
up
not
here.
showing signs of slowing down. May make the move into turn 1 on Williams. We'll see how that goes, but clearly faster through that particular part of the corner. Looking to the inside. Bit late to make a dive bomb. Is she going to do it?
Nope.
Not quite.
Chose to back off, which good move by Morales there. That
Yeah, we
26
saw the 22 wash up the track a little bit in what's a pretty intense battle further back in the top 10.
Yoko leads. Williams, Morales, Sundale, Evergreen. The top 5 has completely changed since our last long green run.
Yeah, it got dicey on corner exit back there, as you saw with the 84 and the 62. They're able to sort it out, thankfully. Again, we don't quite understand how. Sometimes they haven't been able to, and we're not all that surprised, but when they have been able to sort it out, it's kind of a shock to us, honestly, with how the racing has been today.
So Yoko, Williams, Morales, they all look pretty strong. I mean, these top 3 look pretty strong, but I wouldn't count out anybody in this group either. Summers, Gray, they both look very fast. I mean, Kate Summers has had to recover from a bad pit stop twice. Got up to 3rd on that last run. She's already up to 6th here, and she came from 14th.
Yeah, we had 3 wide further back, and they sorted that out, but racing insane here at Milwaukee. Yeah, it was Estrada, and of course the 84 as well, and I believe the 22 was also involved in that battle, so quite a bit of aggressive racing, and positions changed just about everywhere any lap here.
Rasha, what do you got on the 6 and the 5? Yeah, Echo. That was just two engines expiring for the 6 of Akuma and the 5 of Quentin. I do believe the damage on the 5 had something to do with it, but they're still trying to figure out what it was on that car. As for the 6, the team have no real clue. I think, yeah, it appears the engine just expired on them, and yeah, that's gonna be a pretty bad. It's gonna be a pretty bad end to the race for the 16, given they were making steady progress towards the front in the laps beforehand.
Kate
Tell you what, the
Summers-
26 was using the bumper on the 55. Really not too much effect. You saw contact in 3 while Rashia was doing a great job reporting on the 6, and that battle continuing to brew. The 40 catches up.
would say the 8 has actually reeled the 10 in, and she's driven away from this group.
Yeah, that's also true, as we see Gray run high on the track.
I would not count out Kate Summers if we get another restart, or if, you know, this run goes long enough to where she's able to get by some of these cars.
Yeah, however, Yoko has been able to pull away significantly from the 55, at least over these last few laps. I'm not sure how true that holds over this particular stage, but I think certainly the 0 is going to be hard to pass until maybe later in the run, should the tires wear out quite a bit.
It's going to come down to that. It's going to come down to, I think it might just come down, it might end up coming down to a restart.
Yeah, it could. I don't know if it's going to be a late race shootout or if it's just going to be one more and then we get 10, 20 laps to the finish. But the only way you'll know is if you stay tuned in and watching as we see Oberman down the inside of Schultz.
There's a couple teammates fighting for that position. That's for the 14th position. So,
yeah, Oberman knows what it's like to visit victory lane. Not really in a position to doing so today necessarily, but anything can happen from here.
8 car gets 5th from Evergreen. Evergreen's
gonna cross over, or at least try.
Evergreen's trying the crossover, but she's just not close enough to get it to work. There was Morales taking 2nd from Williams. Move the 26 up into the 2nd position. Started on pole, led the first 2 laps, and then lost it on after everyone came to pit road and on strategy at the start of the race. Here comes Davenport around Gray there for the 8th position. There's Davenport. She's really making moves right now. That 22's moving. And so is Rose Lockport in the 77. Remember, she started in the back. She made it up to 2nd at one point during this race. She's up into the top 10 right now. Again, that would be Lockport's 3rd consecutive top 10 if she's able to hang on to it. I think Morales is catching the 0.
Yeah, that gap has been fluctuating some because we've seen it as low as 0.8 at one point. We've seen it as high as a 1.3 seconds at other points. It's just very interesting watching this because you never know what's going to happen as we approach 60 to go. Roughly had the same gap that last lap, but just it's unpredictable at times, this series and this race for sure. But will it come down to another restart or will it come down to this long run? How do you think we'd fare over a long run here as far as these cars go? Who do you think has been the best over those sorts of scenarios?
Well, in that last long run we had, the 62 looked really fast. 62 is pretty far back. I think I'm still looking at this 8 car, Kate Summers, because she looks like the
Summers
only car,
was no slouch.
She looks like the only car that can really drive away from the rest of the traffic, aside from the 0.
Yeah,
that
that's very true.
8 car pulled away from this pack with Gray, and she's starting to pull away a little bit from Evergreen now in the 10 as well. So I think the 8 car is one that I'm absolutely looking at to see what she can do. But also I think that car in the best spot is absolutely the 0. Being in the lead, that's the best spot.
Yeah. The 0 and the 1 spot is not a bad mix at all, I don't think. And I mean, when you're in the lead, you really only have things to lose. When you're further back, you have to work on gaining stuff as well. And that is, you can do it, but it's not necessarily easy as pie at a place like Milwaukee, as we've seen.
Morales is slowly reeling in the 0. But these cars back here, the 55 and the 40, are slipping back a bit.
Tell you what, the 59 is fighting back with the 22 as of the last lap. Probably made that move by now. Or is about to.
I'm just very curious as to, I'm just looking to see if anybody else took 2 tires that I didn't notice. Here we go, battle for third. There's Sundale on Williams. Those two going to go side by side. Fighting for the 3rd position.
Gonna take that spot pretty easily.
Grabs the spot. The 8 car is starting to catch up to these two as well. And he caught a lap car. 26 has really closed up that last lap. She was half a second back. I'm not sure if she's going to keep that gap here. Yeah, she's not. The 8 has dragged herself up to these two though. And now these cars are going to struggle to get by the 7.
Yeah, I think that'll pay off worse for Sundale here at the exit of the corner than it will for Williams, though both are able to get by without that much difficulty, all things considered. That has enabled Summers to close in, though.
Yeah, let's let Summers catch up to these two, and that might let her take 4th. She's going for it on Williams.
Yeah, she's there.
She's going to take that spot away. Clear off of turn 4. So that'll put her up to 4th. She's going to try and chase down Sundale now. One second between Yoko and Morales. Then it's 2.5 seconds back to Sundale from Yoko, and then 2.8 back to Summers. Fastest car that last lap was the 26 of Morales. But that is just constantly changing whoever the fastest car on track is.
Yeah, certainly a lot of parity, and as for that gap for the lead, it's been growing at times, it's been shrinking at times, and I think now it's more on the shrinking end of things.
Yep.
As we
Morales
see about a
closed
10th
again.
gain for the 26.
Yep, fastest again, 26 that last lap. As we have 50 laps to go here from Milwaukee. Fastest that time was Summers of the top 5. Looks like Morales and Summers are 2 of the cars that are very fast right now. That time was Yoko who was fastest of the top 5. But now she's catching a lap car in the 0, or in the 45. So Liz Roberts, who's pretty far off the pace, may be a bit of a roadblock. And it doesn't look like it. Looks like she'll get by. Looks like she'll get by okay.
Probably a bit of respect out of that 45 too, not really wanting to interfere too much with the battle for the lead. Of course, the 26 didn't gain that time, actually lost a couple tenths over these last couple of laps compared to being pretty fast earlier. So again, that gap just not very predictable, but Kate Summers is storming her way through, going for 3rd on Sundale.
Summers has looked very strong in this run. But I'm not sure if she's been strong enough, is the thing. Although I
We
think
still have
part of
time
it...
this race. 45 laps remaining here. Granted, that's 3 seconds behind, but a restart will change everything. And if you can execute on pit road, which we've seen that last stop for Summers, that was not the case. I think certainly if they can rectify those mistakes and figure things out, they will be a factor.
I'm not sure if we'd even get another pit stop, because I think they might be okay on fuel, but it's really, really close from what I know. If they go green all the way, it's really close. They have about 90 laps on fuel, so they should be okay. But it's close. It's not a very safe feeling in terms of how the fuel looks.
Yeah, those crew chiefs are probably sweating bullets right now, as we're 3 wide for this position back here with Latanya Gray, Rachel Ramos.
And Von Weber. None of them want to
Yeah,
give
Von
it
Weber's
give it
gonna
up.
get out of that.
Well, Von Weber decided to give it up. 45 in a terrible spot for the 8 here. And I'm not
Wow,
sure why
that
the
is
8...
awful. Not even able to get by in turn 1, not even able to dive down in there. That is just really wrecking things as far as that goes for Kate Summers. Now able to get down the inside, but a lot later than she wanted to. That has allowed Sundale to close right back in. And we talk about lap cars and how they can sometimes block the leaders physically, like physically slow them down, as in that instance, but when you're behind another car, you have that turbulent, dirty air, and that's also really messing with your tires, making them wear out more and all that, and that is even worse, because you're only losing by being behind a lap car in that way, and more than just, you know, the physical obstruction.
Yoko still leads Morales by about 1.2 seconds. Summers has been able to gain time, but it just seems like everything's being thrown badly at her. Summers is a little faster than both of these two. Just needs to ring up the consistency and needs to hit some consistent laps. Yeah, she gained that time. Got 0.2 faster there. She'll get by the 95 much cleaner.
Still wasn't a great spot, but certainly not as atrociously bad as it was with the 45.
Yeah.
Still has allowed Sundale to close right in again.
Lost that time, but that could definitely be attributed to just being held up by the lap car. There's a battle for 10th. Schultz and Izzy Overman, those two teammates, still continuing to fight it out. Rachel Ramos is up here with Naomi Davenport. Here comes the 93 with a big dive into turn 3.
Yeah, Oberman's gonna take advantage of that big time. Gonna get by Ramos here. The 59 on the scene as well all of a sudden.
Yeah, Abby Buchanan. She looks pretty strong right now. Eliza Evergreen actually made a move on Deborah Williams. Evergreen's moved up to the 5th position, so...
Yeah, Sundale not really able to capitalize on that hold up for Summers, though. Has lost a bit of time relative to the 8 car.
Yoko...
Still able to close back in, though. That's all over the place.
Yoko got a bit of a Yoko got held up a little bit there by the 44 of Connie. Remember, Connie's on just 2 tires. And yeah, that let Morales that dragged Morales in by quite a bit.
Yeah, I bet that 44 team is really regretting having 2 tires. Because, I mean, I'd imagine they're inspired somewhat by the 96 earlier, who was able to make 2 tires work, but on a run this long, you just can't do that. And a lap down now, this has very much put them in a terrible position.
Well, Morales is really starting to close these laps. That 26 is now closing up quite a bit. Summers as well has gained a fair bit. She's now gotten it to under 3 seconds. You can see that the 0 and the 26 now in the same shot as the 26 is closed up. She's there.
You can see it very much. Now it's about a car length between the two, and it will continue to close. Looks like about half a car length. Now that 26 clearly faster at this point. Maybe biding her time earlier and then waiting for the right moment to pounce, and I think she believes that right time is now as we have 33 to go.
Down to a 1/10 of a second. If the 26 is able to get to the inside, there she goes. There she goes for the move. The 26 is able to get to the inside. That will also help. That's going to help these two, this 8 and the 40 as well, close in. And new leader out front here. Robin Morales has taken the lead away.
Yeah, notice Kate Summers now only 2.5 seconds back from our leader Morales. Has really gained a lot, and I'm sure that pass helped, but also just faster in her own right late in this run.
Yoko's not going away. She's sticking with the 26 right now.
That's what Summers wants to see, more passing out front. It's what our fans want to see, and it's what the 8 wants, so she can catch up.
Well, she got held up by the 40.
Though. Certainly,
got
the
held
44
up by the
did
44.
not help. Thankfully clear now. Not the case for Sundale, though.
Yeah,
The
Sundale
40
can't
thought about
get
a
in.
move to the inside, but is not close enough.
Sundale can't get in. So that's going to give at least a decent split between Summers and Sundale now. Yeah, Summers able to close. Sundale was not. I think Summers is faster than both of these top two. I just don't think she has enough time. Here comes Yoko looking back for the lead. Morales slides up.
Yeah, 30 to
room.
go, and the battle is on.
Morales slides up to give her room. Wow, that was
side by
close.
side, the 26 had more momentum off the corner, but that inside is far superior at this end of the racetrack. Really at both.
Yoko back to the front.
Yeah, Morales did not have a good corner exit at all. Lost a lot of time there. Even aside from the overtake.
See if Morales can reel the 0 back in here. Eight lost a fair bit there. .26 with a great drive, a great mid corner. She's able to drive in a lot deeper than the 0 was. She closed quite a bit.
Summer's still not able to gain. Just too sporadic, too much of a fluctuation to really say that she has a chance at this point. Unless we get a caution.
Unless there's a caution, which I could see. I could see that happening.
All it takes is one car having trouble, and there's your yellow.
They're catching another lap car. That's the 7 of Munoz.
Yeah, Summers lost 3/10 there.
I
That
think
is
these
not
two-
what you
I
need
think-
at this point.
I think these two have picked it up. I think the 0 and the 26 have just gotten faster.
Yeah, they're chasing each other down. This is an intense battle for the lead.
25 laps to go as they cross the line. Yoko had a much better corner there than Morales did, so that's let the 0 pull a little bit. Great exit for Morales that time. Gonna help her keep the gap to where it was on the 0.
Yeah, at least within this range, there's still some time to make that move. With 24 to go at this stage, it is not over.
I think the thing with the 8, I think she might have just used her stuff up here. I don't think she's necessarily slower than these two. I just think that I think she's just used her equipment up.
Yeah, she's certainly not faster. Continuing, gained
No,
a
she
little
was
bit
fast
back there,
that- she
but
was
not
fast
a
for that lap.
substantial amount. Yeah, it was not much though. Only 2/10 compared to
Yeah.
losing some second over the last few.
It's not looking like it's going to be better here. Yeah. It's going to be down to these two, I think, between Yoko and Morales. There's a battle for 5th. That's Evergreen taking it away from Williams. Tanya fighting with Oberman and Ramos back here. Now lap car in between Yoko and Morales.
That's certainly not going to help Morales catch up, because now that's 2 cars to overtake if she wants the lead. Not going to have too hard of a time here, though, thankfully, for the 26.
Getting by the 7's not going to be that difficult, just because the 7's just not up to pace on the straightaways. In the corners
20 to
is
go
where that's
now.
going to get far more annoying.
That did still cost a huge chunk of time, though, for that 26.
And Morales has really got to work to get to the 0 here. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but we'll see. She did gain a bit on that last lap. We may see a fight for 3rd here pretty soon with Sundale and Summers. Ross not able to gain. And Summers also lost there as well, so I think her tires just are a bit, I think it's just a bit too much worn out for the 8 car here. Yeah, the 0's gained a little bit more this lap as well. So Yoko's pulled away just a bit. 0.7 of a second the gap she has. There's Vinny Schultz trying to get around Casper von Weber. I believe that's to get up into the 9th position. For Vinny, you know, a great day. You know, she led a lot of laps in this one, but not able to keep control of it here in this second half of the race. Morales gained
Yeah, I'm
that
not going to
time
give it
back.
to Yoko yet, but she's looking really good at this point.
Morales did gain some of that time back.
I did notice that it was about a quarter of a second, so still a lot to play for, 16 to go, but it's going to be a little bit difficult, as we've seen, for that 26. Was able to make the move at one point, but it wasn't an easy move to make.
Zero actually turned the second fastest lap of the race on that on this run at the start of this run. So big mix-up over here. I think if you're Summers, you're hoping for a yellow. That's pretty much the only way you're going to be able to have a chance at this one, I think. If you're anybody other than the 0 and 26, you're gonna need a caution at this point, I think.
I think that caution's pretty unlikely right now. You see how the field is fairly spread out. Not perfectly spread out, but I'd say to some extent, certainly not as bunched up as they used to be, but certainly a yellow is what I would even argue Morales needs at this point.
Really lost that time. That was 4/10. Naomi Davenport, I mean, still a great day, a great recovery for Davenport to be able to get back into the top 10 after all of this, after all that she went through in this one. Just a great job.
Yeah, lost the lap multiple times with varying issues, and really to get back into 8th at this stage is no small task for that team. Great to see recoveries like that.
And they've struggled to get points this year, so this is going to be a much-needed run. You got Vinny Schultz in 10th, who's going to help her points day. Morales really has been closing those last couple laps as we're at our Windows 11 to go. Morales trying to run down Yoko for the race lead. Kate Summers sits 3rd. Laura Sundale, Eliza Evergreen, the top 5. It's going to come down to it for Milwaukee. Big run for the 26.
Yeah, great run off the corner. We'll see what she does with it, as we have 11 to go now, 10 to go at this point. Not able to make the move just yet, but certainly could before long. Looks like she had a bit of a better corner exit, so not good enough to make the dive.
No, it is good enough.
She is going to make the dive.
Here she goes. Gonna drive her right by. Morales to the front again.
We'll see how long this lasts, but she is going to take the lead decisively from Yoko.
I thought it
That
might
was
have
brave,
been over
that was
for her.
bold, and it was beautiful as Summers prepares to lose 3rd.
Third place battle between Sundale and Summers here. Eight laps to go. Does Morales have enough to hang on?
I don't know. Summers could even lose 4th here as well if things go poorly enough with Evergreen. Going
drop
from
to
possible
6th.
favorite to win the race to now maybe not even being in the top 5.
And she's going to try and take
Gonna
3rd
move
back.
for 3rd.
Rose Lockport sitting 7th. Another good day for Lockport. She's going to string together 3 top 10 finishes in a row if she can hang on to this one. Robin Morales has kind of struggled with consistency, struggled to make races at all this year. She has not led much of this race. But if she stays up front here, it will be the first and the last laps that count. There are 6 laps to go. The zero's not gone.
They are approaching. Are they approaching a lap car? It certainly looked like it.
Yep,
That
they
is
are
Alice
approaching the
Hageman there.
81.
The teammate to Rose Lockport got involved in a collision earlier where we saw Min barrel roll.
This is going to be a tight finish between one driver who's starving for a win and another driver who's trying to make a comeback story for herself in this one. Here comes Yoko. Great drive into 3 and 4. Doesn't have the exit
Not as strong
speed.
on exit, but that was beautiful.
Doesn't have the exit speed, but she did have the entry speed, and she was able to stay with.
Yeah, we'll see if they catch the 81 by the end of this, because Hageman is not necessarily that slow relative to the other lap cars that we've seen. I think if they do catch, it'll be on the last lap, or maybe with 2 to go.
3 laps to go. So close between these two. Because they're going to catch that 81 right here, I think.
Morales
Zero
not yet
car.
making the dive. I think it'll be with 2 to go that they make that pass, if
Zero
they do.
car went high. Maybe that's to try and stagger a little bit to get underneath the 81 and not get stuck behind. Well, if
Bit of a tough moment on entry for Morales there.
see if the zero can get by. Yes, she will. We'll take the white. No issues with fuel. White flag. 1 lap to go for Robin Morales, trying to hold off Hieta Yoko. Close is Yoko, but can she get close enough to make a move?
This is her last chance right here down in turn 3.
Great corner.
We've seen dives from this far back before, but is it going to happen? Doesn't
No,
look like it.
She's not going to do it. It's going to be the Uruguayan Robin Morales wins from the pole. Morales takes it in Milwaukee.
Yeah, Kate Summers looked like a potential favorite, but we'll have to settle for a distant third from those two. Great battle at the end.
I think she'll take third, and with how her luck's gone lately, I think she'll take that. So Robin Morales, the winner here from Milwaukee, and what a great job she did in this one. What'd you think of that one? How'd you feel about that race?
I really enjoyed it overall. It was certainly chaotic near the beginning, but later on it got to more refined entertainment, I think. We saw a lot of battling for certainly the lead and pretty much every other position on track at some point. And those long runs, while we didn't get any green flag pit stops, it was quite fascinating to see how the strategies and the adjustments worked out. So I'm very happy with how this went.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was a great race. It was very fun watching these drivers tackle this tricky track. And, you know, again, tomorrow we're going to see them tackle another really difficult track in Road America in the Cup Series. That one's going to be fun to watch. All right, we're going to send you back to the FanDuel Fan Studio with Russia And Madison, you can join in, as I understand that Eddie has gotten lost in the infield, apparently.
How do you do that? It's only a mile racetrack.
Um,
Poor guy.
Magic. All right, well, we'll give it to Russia in the studio.
Yes, unfortunately for everyone, Eddie has been transported to the wrong mile oval track. He's now at St. Louis, apparently, somewhere in St. Louis, wherever that other track is. I don't know. I don't claim to know Missouri. That's a terrifying place. Anyways, it's been a great race. That was a great race. Great dogfight between the 26 and 0 at the end there, and the 26 of Morales ended up winning in the end. I think I'm not sure if that's our first pull to win run in AWSCO, but it's the first one that I remember. So it's that's definitely something to to consider. And
Yeah, for sure.
run-
And I'm very
yeah.
glad that you're just right next door because I could run over here. And yeah, it was really a great fight between those top two. We saw Yoko take the lead. We saw Morales take the lead. And then Yoko got it right back. And Morales was able to hold on until the end and take that win. Certainly for Kate Summers, perhaps a bit disappointing to finish third after what was potentially a win for today. But third
Yeah,
is
that
still
was-
a great finish for that 8 car, considering some of the recent instances of performances from that team.
Yeah, that 8 car has been on something this last month, I think. And yeah, I think that 8 car definitely had the pace to win. I think that car was just rapid, especially in that first half of that final run, where she had to claw her way back out from behind the top 10. I think on that last run after the slope stop, she managed to get all her stuff all the way up to third. But by that point, I think her tires were crying out. Which, to be fair, everyone's tires were crying out by the end of that race. That's kind of the nature of the game, but it is what it is for that 8 car. It's another good result, but yeah, another case of what could have been for that 8 car. Good runs for the most of the rest of the top 10, I would say. I think most of those drivers are going to be happy to be there. I think Davenport is especially the 22 of Davenport. She had a bit of a rough start to the race, fell a lap down early, but kind of just kept things stable. Kind of kept things steady in the second half of the race. Was just kind of running on the lead lap for the rest of the race, and just got a good clean race in, and managed to walk away with a top 10. So good race for her there, I think. 62 of Vinny Schultz might be wondering what could have been. I think she had a really fast car in that middle portion of the race. She was still leading when we were doing our mid race report, but I think a couple of adjustments may have gone wrong with that car. Just didn't seem to be very fast at the end. Really didn't have that top running pace that she had at the beginning of the race, where she was almost running away from the field, and it just didn't seem to really didn't seem whatever they changed on that car. It really didn't seem, or maybe they didn't change anything. Maybe that was the issue. They didn't change enough on the car, and everyone else just caught up to them. Well, just they'll have to see, I guess, and just kind of debrief from that. But still, 8th place, a pretty good run. Rest of the top 10. Let's take a look at the rest of the top 10. I do wonder what someone like a Madison Estrada will be thinking, because she did run really well at parts of the race. I think she was never off the pace really, but she kind of just also faded away at the end of the race. Finished 15th, which isn't bad. Still on the lead lap, but yeah, just maybe a little bit of a disappointment given how well she was running at the beginning of the race. But that team is,
Yeah.
But I will say RGB Racing in general has had an up and down season. So Estrada, any kind of finish is valuable, I think, and that's something that they can take and build over time. Especially as let me double check the schedule here, because I do think there's the types of tracks we're going to go to are going to really change in the next few races, because we have all sorts of racetracks. Yeah, I mean, we have 2 1.5 milers in Kentucky and Charlotte, then 2 short tracks in San Eustache and Delaware, then Michigan, which is a 2 miler. So all sorts of shenanigans afoot in the next few races of the schedule, and not even going into the track afterwards, which will be the first AWSCO race that takes place outside of the United States. That'll be a race at Aguascalientes. At which is also just under a mile, I think. But it does have quite a bit of banking, so.
The first race outside the United States?
Wait.
Oh, wait,
San Eustache, sorry.
Quebec is part of the U.S. now.
Apologies, I forgot about San Eustache. But yeah, it should be our first two races outside of the U.S., I would say. This place still...
Also Delaware.
What do you mean, Delaware's in the U.S.?
Delaware, Ontario.
Oh, that's
I got a
Ontario?
fact checker
Yeah.
here.
Oh, really? I didn't even realize that was didn't even realize that was in Ontario. Well, so that entire stretch, I would say, minus Michigan, of course, but that almost counts as that counts as a Canadian representation race in the Cup Series. That kind of counts.
Well, I guess we'll have some job applications open for the data collection team for the AWSCO broadcast.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so we had 16 cars on the lead lap today, and quite a bit of attrition as there are only 6 cars still running at the finish that were not on the lead lap. A lot of hard crashes, a lot of mechanical issues, and admittedly, this is not a track where I quite expected that to be the case. Granted, AWSCO as a whole has really been a race where there's a lot of attrition, whether it's collision or engines or that sort of thing, but certainly a bit more than expected, might you think, Rasha?
Maybe a little bit more. I will say I'm not too surprised by seeing 16 cars on the lead lap. This is a flat track model oval. I kind of expect the field to spread out quite a bit, and there was definitely a lot of random engine attrition again. That seems to be the case in AWSCO. That occasionally we'll just get a race where you have about 5 cars blow up for seemingly no reason. So it's just a thing that happens. It's just a thing that happens in the series seemingly. But yeah, on top of that, the accident-related attrition at the beginning of the race also pushed the number of cars running at the end down a little bit. But otherwise, from the cars that they weren't, I should say, the cars that fell quite a few laps also, I think, had a bit of damage. I think the 7 and 12 were carrying damage for most of the race, so there's not really. So yeah, attrition definitely played a role again here. It wasn't as extreme as I would say it was kind of in the beginning of the season, but I think a little bit of that early season vibe cropped up here at the in this race.
Yeah, for sure. I think certainly a bit more moderate in this case, but yeah, still some great racing all around, which for a single group track is not something that you would typically expect if you're a fan and you're looking at a place like Milwaukee or other tracks like this, but there was some great racing. Granted that once you got to the outside, you're pretty much done for as far as continuing that battle, but getting to the inside is certainly something that cars could do. Not necessarily easy, but they could do it, and I think that's pretty important. Overtaking shouldn't necessarily have to be super easy. You have to work hard to do it. You have to have great racecraft, and I think a place like Milwaukee, on top of the history it has, is certainly a place where you can see that great racecraft on display from a lot of drivers.
Yeah, I agree with that. Great racecraft is more often than not rewarded this track, and I think we saw that, especially with the longer runs at the end. You really needed to be a very good car. You need to have consistently good pace, and we saw how important tire management was at the end of the race. I mean, I think the 0 and 26 did a really good job of just making sure keeping their tires in the best shape they could. I think because it's very hard to be making moves on older tires, and they were making moves every 5 or 10 laps or so with pretty regular intervals. So definitely good racecraft on their part to keep up a fight like that, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Certainly great fighting, yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap up this great broadcast here at the AWSCO Continental Series?
No, not particularly. No, not particularly. I think I just want to say that definitely enjoyed this race, and also looking forward to the race at Road America. That's definitely the Cup race at Road America. That'll certainly be an exciting spectacle as well. I do love me some road course racing, and yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, it was Rashia that I had the pleasure of talking to just a moment ago, and it was wonderful to talk to Echo and commentate the race together. And yeah, I'll let her have some of the last words before we finish things up.
All right. Yeah, great race here from the historic Milwaukee Mile. Very beloved track by fans and drivers alike. And tomorrow night we'll be in Elkhart Lake, just up the road in Road America at the 4-mile road course for the Windows Cup Series. Third road course they've gone to this year, but it might be the best one we go to, and I don't say that lightly. I hope you all enjoyed this race, and I will see you all tomorrow for the Cup race at Road America, and then next week we'll be in the Bluegrass State, Kentucky for the Kentucky Speedway for both series. Hope you enjoy that. I hope you all